"How is it, Your Highness? How is he now?" As soon as Emo Shanghua and Lu Jinggang opened the door and walked out, the bodyguard hurriedly came forward and asked eagerly. At that time, it was dusk. Emo Shanghua glanced at the bodyguard lightly, then directly bypassed the bodyguard and continued to walk out. The bodyguard just wanted to stop Emo Shanghua and ask for a clear answer. Lu Jing stood in front of him. When Sheng explained, "Your Highness is okay now, but you can't see anyone now. When I go back, I'll ask the medicine boy to come and serve him. At that time, I'll let the medicine boy lead you in to visit. Remember, don't disturb me at this time." The bodyguard's face flashed some suspicious color, just want to continue to ask. Lu Jing also turned away. "Half an hour later, I will let the medicine boy come." The bodyguard didn't understand the medical theory either. Now Lu Jing said that, looking at their calm state, he thought that they didn't really dare to tell Yen Moli what to do, so he just sighed, sat down cross-legged at the door of the room and continued to guard. The flower on the street has been busy for 3 or 4 hours, and the tired state can be seen between the eyebrows, and the blood color on the lips is a little less. As soon as Qinya saw her appearance, she hurriedly stepped forward and put a thick cloak on her body. "Princess, you see, your eyes are almost red. Are you very tired now? Are you hungry? If you don't, go back and have dinner first, then go to bed immediately." Emo Shanghua raised her hand and rubbed her temple. She had been strongly supporting her nerves. Then she relaxed a little bit. "It's a little tired. Let's go. Let's go back and have a rest. As for dinner, I don't have to go anymore. I don't have any appetite now." After a pause, her face suddenly solidified. "By the way, the Lord suddenly came out in the middle of the way. Do you know what he went to do?" Qin Yajing lowered his head to tie the cape with flowers. Hearing the words, he said without raising his head, "The princess cares what he does. The prince manages everything every day. Maybe he is going to do something important." In his words, he was quite angry. "Why are you so angry?" On the street eyebrow tip tiny pick, in the heart faint feel wrong, like what bad things happened in general. Qinya changed her flat mouth, raised her small face and said, "Princess, it's your body that matters now. You'd better go back with your maidservant and have a good rest." Said, around to one side, 2 hands holding the flowers on the road, walking forward. "It's not very comfortable under the dazzling eyes on the street. I didn't think much when I saw it, so I nodded as if I had nothing." However, just after 2 steps, her steps stopped again. She grasped Qinya's wrist tightly in one hand, which made her eyes a little bigger, dignified and surprising. "Qinya, your ears are okay?" Sue is too tired, spent now just after knowing reaction come over. As usual, Qinya always looked at her mouth when she was talking, in order to know what she said. But just now, she has been bowing her head to tie her clothes. Without raising her head, she can connect her words without thinking about it. It must be that it has completely taken effect and made her recover her hearing. Thinking of this, she grasped Qinya's wrist hand, but she couldn't control her excitement. After all, just 2 days ago, she had reported that she might not be able to cure well. Now she is not only cured, but also has the effect ahead of time, which makes her not excited. There was a slight pain in her wrist, but Qinya didn't say a word. Her dissatisfaction and resentment disappeared. She only bit her lip, and tears gradually filled her eyes. She choked and said, "That bastard bodyguard was ready when he wanted to kill me, but I'm afraid that I'll affect you." That's why she didn't say, "My brother is happy for me." It's a happy thing. If you are crying, you can't say it. Emo Shanghua raised her hand to wipe away Qinya's tears from the corner of her eyes. She raised her eyes and looked around. "If you don't tell me, I almost didn't remember. Qin Lin, has he recovered?" "Brother, he went to the dining room to urge people to prepare dinner for you." Mentioning this, Qinya's eyes could not help but let out a bit of worry. "Princess, slaves have recovered. Brother, he should also be able to recover as I do, right? To tell you the truth, I dare not promise you that after all, you too have different physical conditions and diseases, but you can rest assured that you are at least 70% sure." She said, "Yes, it's less than 3 days now. My servant's ears should have recovered by luck. My brother will be fine." Why, Miss Qin's ears have not been able to hear clearly before? Qin Ya's voice has just dropped, and Lu Zhengkai, the bodyguard, has just been sent to follow him. He is surprised to hear Qin Ya's words, but he doesn't ask directly. After careful consideration, he opens his mouth politely. When talking to such a gentle person, even Qin Ya, who is usually a little hot-tempered, can't help slowing down her intonation and smiling. To tell you the truth, Dr. Liu said that the ear disease of the slave girl was born with. It's not that she can't hear clearly, but that she can't hear at all. Now it's good. I've never seen it before. Lu Zheng's eyes were filled with surprise. After a long time, he asked tentatively, "Don't you know lip language?" "Wait, what did you just say?" Up to now, Emo Shanghua's reaction came later, and her warm face suddenly appeared a huge shock. "Is it okay now?" Qin Yigang wanted to answer, but Emo Shanghua suddenly pinched her, but she said to Lu Yui, "There are still affairs to deal with in our hospital, and it's dark now. If you stay too long, it's hard to avoid criticism. If you are curious, it's not too late to talk tomorrow." Lu Jing saw that Emo Shanghua said so. He thought of it later. He was so shocked and curious that he bowed his hand and said, "It's because I didn't think about it well. I'm going now. Don't be surprised." There is no color of blame on the flower face on the street. He just shakes his head and turns to leave without saying a word. Lu Jing sees this. After seeing Emo Shanghua walk out for a distance, he just turns around, but he hasn't walked out for a few steps. Suddenly, a heavy object falls to the ground behind him. Then, Qinya cries out in panic, "Princess, princess, what's the matter with you, princess?" Lu Zheng's heart suddenly trembled. He turned around in a hurry and saw that the flower on the street had fallen to the ground. Qinya sat on one side and leaned half of her body on her lap. She couldn't see clearly. Lu Zheng's heart almost jumped out and ran to him. When he got close to him, he could see clearly that the flowers on the street, his eyes closed, and his mouth bleeding were bad. And Qinya, who was still learning how to treat the comatose patients, patted her face gently. Now she saw Lu Zheng coming, so she looked up. "Dr. Lu, come and see the princess." Lu Zheng's heart is only more urgent than Qinya's. Her voice is falling, so he squats down, grabs the flower on the street, a white wrist that can't hang on his side, and closes his eyes to feel his pulse. Su is concerned about chaos, his mood in a mess. It took a long time to calm down, diagnosis of pulse phase. But the pulse, for him, was more terrifying than not being diagnosed. It turned out that she was still suffering from a serious internal injury. The internal force in the Dantian area seemed to have gathered again, but now it was scattered and rampant, pounding the Dantian and stirring the internal force. If it cannot be cured, the internal power will be lost in the light, and the heart will be injured in the heavy. This should have happened when she was still in the treatment. But she didn't reveal any of the pain of internal injury from the beginning to the end. She has endured it until now. How did she do it? No matter how he did it, Lu Zheng was worried and frightened to the extreme now. After he diagnosed his pulse, he immediately picked up the flower on the street without thinking about it, and quickly walked to the Wu Yuan. Qinya didn't care about anything at this time. She trotted to follow him. "I always have to take the road of incense, but now I only need incense to get to Wuyun." At this moment, Lu is holding the sleepy flowers back to the yard, the whole yard girl suddenly surrounded, chirping. Qinya Ting's anger, but also understand that at this time must not drive people away, otherwise, they must think that Lu Zheng and Emo Shanghua have an affair, out of the yard to nonsense. As a result, she directly lowered her face and said in a deep voice, "The princess has fainted outside. If you don't wait and make trouble here, don't you expect the princess to be better?" The face of a few wenches instantly white, busy will head very low, a word also dare not say again. The chi in Qinya's heart just obeyed a little, and then ordered, "All wait here, lest for a while the imperial Dr. Lu has something to need and can't call someone to help." "Yes." The girls were deterred by Qinya and didn't dare to say much. They answered quickly and stood in the bedroom waiting. Seeing this, Qinya hurried to the bedside, and her face was full of worry. "What's the matter with Dr. Lu? What happened to the princess?" Lu Jingjing took the silver needle to tie the flowers in the street. He didn't dare to be distracted, so he shook his head to signal Qinya to be quiet. Seeing this, Qinya had to clench her lips and pay close attention to Lu Zheng's movements. A drop of bright red blood appeared in the middle of the people who saw flowers on the street. Not to mention Qinya, even Lu's face was a condensation, fixed on her eyes. For a long time, the long and light lashes of the flowers on the street just flickered, slowly opened, and the look in the eyes was clear. You wake up. Princess. See her open eyes, Lu Zheng Qinya, two people almost at the same time voice, are all around the bed. Mo Shanghua didn't immediately answer the two people's words. She propped up her bed and half sat up. Then she took her left hand with her right hand and felt her pulse. You don't have to look at your current situation. It's terrible. I'm afraid you can't do it by yourself. I have to help you. When Lu Zheng saw this, he didn't stop it, but his sword eyebrows were tightly wrinkled together. He was obviously worried. Mo Shanghua still insists on her own pulse, and then the result is exactly like what Lu Zheng said. Her eyebrows can't help but slightly frown. She gently purses her lips. For a long time, she has no words. Originally, she planned to make a diagnosis and treatment by herself, but now that she has been seen by Lu Zheng Qinya, she has no reason to keep it secret. When she just treated Yen Moli, she didn't treat herself. She had already missed the best opportunity. Now she wants to reorganize her internal power. With her current physical condition, she can't make up her mind without the help of a skilled person. The flowers on the street think about it, then they think of this layer. The willow eyebrows are tighter, almost twisted into a ball. Seeing that Mo Shanghua was in such a state, Qinya was anxious, so she quickly asked, Princess, what's the meaning of Lu Yui's words? What's your body like? Mo Shanghua gave her a reassuring look and comforted her, Dr. Lu will take care of me, and you will put your heart in your stomach. Lu Zheng also nodded, Princess, now there is no more suitable doctor than me. Before Qin Yaxin had time to put it, there was a noise outside the door. Then, Yan Beicheng's close friends rushed in directly, and he followed two friends behind him. When he entered the house, he looked inside for a while. After giving a gift to the stranger, his eyes directly fell on Lu Zheng and said, Dr. Lu, Madame Nan is ill. All the doctors who come to see her say that they can't do it. The Lord appointed the servant to ask you to go there. Madame Nan can't delay. Please leave as soon as possible. Lu Zheng's sword eyebrows suddenly twisted, turned his eyes to see the flowers beside him, and said, Listen to you, there must be a good doctor there. I'm afraid it's inconvenient for me to go there. In other words, you can see what the princess looks like today. Can't I abandon her? The boy noticed the pale face of the flower on the street, and he was surprised. What's the matter with the princess? How can she look so ugly? Seeing his appearance, Qinya felt extremely affected. She turned cold and said, You have good eyesight, so you can see that the princess is not good. Mrs. Nan is the king's favorite. There are a large number of people who will serve her well. We can only ask Dr. Lu to move. Being ridiculed by Qinya in such a strange way, the boy was half angry, but he was embarrassed. Look at what the girl said. If those doctors are good at it, how dare they come here to harass the princess? After a pause, he looked at Dr. Lu and knelt down directly. Dr. Lu, Madame Nan is going to die. You are the most skilled doctor in Yuzhou. Besides you, I'm afraid no one can save Madame Nan. Besides, this is what the Lord asked you to do. If you don't go, I'm afraid the slaves' heads will be damaged. Lu Zheng's smell speech, complexion immediately a coagulate. Really want to not? The boy busily opened his mouth and explained, All the famous doctors in the city have seen it. The Lord is red-eyed. Now he only guards the South Lady and refuses to let go. After a pause, the boy turned to see the flowers on the street, looking like he was about to cry. Princess, this is a fatal event, or would you like to invite the doctor next to you later? Before the flower on the street answered, Qinya hummed coldly and said angrily, The whole doctor of Yuzhou is almost with Mrs. Nan. Where do you want us to go? Qinya. The flower on the street whispered, and her eyes were quiet. She could not see any emotion. Since it's a fatal matter, then the imperial Dr. Lu will follow me. As for me, please tell the Lord, and call the doctor who is free from Mrs. Nan to have a look. Lu's face sank a little, and his eyes worried even more. But your body, Dr. Lu, you'd better go as soon as possible. I'm fine here. A word is not finished. Emo Shanghua will directly interrupt his words. Expressionless enunciation, attitude is very firm. The little boy was relieved. Seeing that Lu Zheng had no intention of getting angry, he hastened to say, Dr. Lu, you also know the temper of the Lord. Referring to Yan Beiqing, Lu Zheng's face just loosened a little. He reluctantly got up. When he turned around, he couldn't help whispering, take this first, it will help you to get sick. You can know the specific effect as soon as you ask. Said, will be a small porcelain vase into the hands of Emo Shanghua, and use the mouth to say 4 words, wait for me to come back. Then he had to leave with the boy. And just now all sorts of, including Emo Shanghua vomit blood faint, have been arranged by Yan Beiqing in the dark to protect Emo Shanghua in the eyes of the dark guard. Such a big thing, of course, was to inform Yan Beiqing, so one of the dark guards quickly and quietly avoided many dark guards in the house and went to the place of Nanha. After saying hello to the dark guard outside the hall of Nanha dormitory, the dark guard went to the hall smoothly. Unexpectedly, only Nanha met her, and Yan Beiqing was not seen. Sister Nana, the Lord is not here. How? Comfort thought over the words and asked as politely as possible. At this time, the South Crane always looks slightly different from before, and the whole person looks calm. Therefore, the Dark Way hesitates and asks. A few days ago, Yanbei City punished Nanha. The real reason is that he didn't let out half a cent. It's common sense that the secret guard didn't know. Something happened. I just had to set up a situation for the Lord to get away from His Second Highness. The Lord is still dealing with things. The South Crane's face was quiet, and he began to explain in an orderly way. After a pause, he asked casually, Are you here? What's the matter with the princess? At present, she is in a state of blockade. The news from outside can't come in. Naturally, she doesn't know anything. Darkway nodded, but didn't tell the truth directly, only said, The Lord has ordered, if the princess has something to do, then immediately report to him. The Lord's orders, subordinates dare not follow. Sister Nan, do you know where the Lord is now? I'll go to find him and report to him. South Crane Peach Blossom like delicate eyebrows and eyes quietly across a touch of dark color, the face shows helpless color, the specific location of the Lord, I do not know now, I am afraid that I cannot help. Dark Way brow immediately tightly ring up, seem to be very distressed appearance. Look at you, what's going on? Seeing this, then he turned his face and let out a little curiosity. Darkway neither denied, also did not admit, be regarded as acquiescence. The South Crane face immediately took the color of thinking, pondered for a while, then tentatively asked, You have been following the princess, is it not that the princess has an accident? If not, how can it be so urgent? Sister Nanha is so smart that I can't hide it from you. It's true that something happened to the princess. Since Her Second Highness came out of the room, the princess vomited blood and fainted. The Lord told her to take good care. If there's anything wrong, she should report it immediately. That's why my subordinates are so anxious. The Dark Way sees that he simply can't hide it, so he simply tells the whole story. So it is. The South Crane nods gently, there is no unexpected color in the eyes. So, you go back to see the princess's condition first. I continue to wait for the Lord here. After the Lord comes back, I will tell you immediately. The Lord is pure and clear, and I don't think you will be blamed. This. Darkway doesn't dare to agree to come down directly. The speech is quite embarrassed of state. After all, that last time of affair he also remembered clearly. Seeing this, the South Crane's eyes and eyebrows softened and turned a little annoyed. Don't you believe me? Then, without waiting for the Dark Guard's reply, she continued, I love the Lord, and the whole Dark Guard camp knows it, but don't forget that I'm also a member of the Dark Guard camp. I'm not stupid enough to suppress the news and make the winner unhappy. After hearing this, the Secret Way can't help thinking that although Nan he has some thoughts about Wang Yi, he has never used his spirit to do things. If she really suppresses this matter, when the Lord blames him, he will tell the truth, but he doesn't have to be afraid. Thinking about this, the dark way also put a few distractions in his heart, so he quickly lowered his head. Sister Nanha, if you're not there, you're just afraid that the Lord will blame you, so you're hesitant. But with Sister's words, the subordinates also understand a lot, so it's according to Sister's words. South Crane nodded, complexion slightly eased. I will try to contact the Lord as soon as possible. You go. Yes. The dark way bent over and gave a salute, then quickly retreated. This dark way front foot just left, back foot. The small SI then took Lu Zheng to sleep outside the hall. In front of the gate are the two maidservants who are arranged by Yen Beiqing to watch Nanha. When they see Lu Zheng coming, they stop them. One of them looked at the four of them and said, "The Lord has ordered that only Dr. Lu will be allowed to enter. The rest of them will not disturb Mrs. Nan." Yes. Dr. Lu, please. Small c wait for a person to retreat. Maid just opened a door, let open away come. Standing at the door, you can see only 1 or 8 elegant screens of pear trees and the strong smell of medicine that only people who take medicine all the year round can have in the house. More importantly, it's a weird atmosphere. Lu Zheng couldn't help sinking in his heart. He stood at the door for a moment and then stepped into the room. It seems that something is really wrong. Now he really has to go and have a look, and he has to go and return as soon as possible. The medicine is not enough to help the flower turn. He has to help her. Lu Zheng just walked for a short time. The flower on the street felt that the dantian was another internal force, and his qi and blood suddenly choked up, and a big mouthful of blood suddenly spewed out. However, she just took the handkerchief to wipe the blood stains on her lips, but there was no big wave on her face, as if she had just coughed a few times. Qinya was scared out of her wits. She knelt down beside the bed in excitement. "Princess! I can't die. It's okay. Flowers on the street will flow into the throat of the blood to swallow. Just lightly spit out a word." Qinya sniffed and worried. "You've just vomited blood twice. How can it be okay? Don't cheat me like this." "You wait. I'll go and find Dr. Lu." Before I got up, I was grabbed by Emo Shanghua's wrist and pressed back. "Don't go." Qinya turned her head and saw the cold eyes and pale lips of the flowers on the street. Her eyes suddenly turned red. "Princess, you are like this. I really don't understand why I have to go to Lu Yui. Madam Nanan, I tried to set you up. What's the trouble for you?" "It's none of my business whether she's dead or alive." Emo Shanghua sees that Qinya is really puzzled. To avoid her impulsive action, she explains, "I let Lu Zheng go because he has gone. He will definitely mention my situation to the king. I want to tell him what I want to do with that little fellow. Qinya, I don't know what I think now, but I just want him to know now." Qinya listened to of don't understand, this love affair, she a small wench, in the heart is also unclear. After thinking for a long time, she said, "Does the princess want to test the sincerity of the prince?" Emo Shanghua was silent for a long time. Then she lowered her eyelashes and covered her eyes. "Nan, he told me before that the relationship between her and Wang Yi is not simple on the surface. I just want to see how it is. In this way, I can deal with her more easily in the future. Her mind now is more complicated than the internal force in the elixir field." Qinya just called it a tentative word. It was just a sudden movement in her brain that she said it. In fact, she didn't understand it very well. She just said it when she wanted to. Now Qinya asked this question, but she couldn't answer it, so she said it casually. "Don't want to." Qinya still automatically attributed her words to her. This stone heart finally cracked, in the heart happy and worried. "But you are not taking your own life in the block? Just now, Dr. Lu said that he must help you." Emo Shanghua took in her heart and threw the bloody handkerchief aside. Her face recovered as usual. "Don't you forget my medical skills? I know the princess's medical skill naturally, but I still don't feel at ease." Qinya nods and shakes her head. She is worried. "I don't know if I'm reliable. Otherwise, I'll call the doctor you asked him to bring here and let them treat you together. Dr. Lu, if you can't come back, don't worry about it. Your injury should be serious. Even if they come, I won't let them treat them. Emo Shanghua shakes her head gently, pauses for a while, and then explains, "What I suffer from is internal injury. I can't spread it to others. If I am diagnosed by them, I will be in trouble. I can do it myself, and you just have to listen to me now." Said toward her cast a reassuring look, "I believe in themselves, you have to believe me." Although the words were mild, Qinya knew that she couldn't resist the firm character of Emo Shanghua, so she only nodded, "Okay, princess, you can tell me, but I will do my best." Emo Shanghua sees this, then also sync the mind, the complexion is calm of command. "Now, go to take out the ginseng slice in my cabinet, and this sparse attack pill. You also took ground powder, mix with lily powder to make together." Although Lu Zheng has long expected that things are not simple, now see South Crane actually good standing in front of him, or can't help but wonder, "South lady, aren't you?" The South Crane complexion is steady, calmly opens a mouth. "I exactly how unimportant. The important thing is, you must accompany me to play a play with Wang Yi." Lu Zheng's soared eyebrows slightly twisted, his heart jumped inexplicably, and he felt a little uneasy. He pondered for a long time and said, "I'm all ears." Emo Shanghua took a pill given by Lu Zheng, and then put the ginseng tablet in her mouth. She sat on the bed with her knees crossed, and put her hands on her knees. She began to regulate her internal power. In order to avoid waiting for what happened no one to take care of, Qinya will be far away in the side, nervous looking at the flowers. It's not easy for Emo Shanghua to regulate her internal power. Besides, she has a lot of internal damage now. Before she has time to cure it, she has to suppress her disordered internal power by herself. In this way, she has to work harder and harder until midnight. For a few hours, the flowers on the street were all sitting in front of the collapse. Just when Qinya thought that she would sit like this all night, she naturally stretched her hair and thin eyebrows, but suddenly frowned tightly. Her body trembled 2 times, and then she fell on the couch like a jerk. "Princess, princess." Qinya quickly steps to the front of the collapse and half lifts the body of the stranger's home. She just saw that the flower on the street had been in a coma, and her face looked the same as just now, but the inner circle of the lip petal had been stained with red and dazzling blood, which she had endured for a long time. Qinya explored the nose of the flower on the street, and suddenly her face changed greatly. At this time, the flower on the street was not as steady as before. She put the flowers on the bed and ran out of the room. Qin Lin had already come back from the dining room. After Qinya explained everything to him, he kept at the door. Seeing that Qinya didn't say hello at the moment, he ran out so rashly. He felt bad in his heart and rushed into the room. Seeing the situation in the room, his face also changed greatly. He also went forward in a hurry and explored the nose of flowers in the street. He felt that he was still breathing. Then he was a little relieved. Thinking of Qinya's appearance just now, he probably guessed what Qinya was going to do in such a hurry. He tried to make herself calm. He simply went back and closed the door again. Before turning back to the flower on the street, he just stayed in front of the collapse. His eyes were fixed on the flower on the street, so that she could not be surprised again. And hear of Qinya, in her heart know now this point, "Please don't come to the doctor," then straight to the South Crane yard. At that time, Lu Zheng, who had been invited by him, was waiting far away from the dormitory. He was sleepy with his eyes. When he saw Qinya's rush, his eyebrows jumped violently, and he woke up 7 or 8 minutes. He was too busy to stop him. Unexpectedly, Qinya ran so fast that he almost didn't stop him. He ran into him directly. They both fell to the ground because of the collision. "Oh, my aunt, what are you doing?" Xiao Si takes a deep breath, pushes Qinya away and starts to complain. Before he touched Qinya's hand, she got up by herself. When she saw his face clearly, her pretty face suddenly became cold. "Get out of the way, I want to see the Lord." The young man quickly beckoned the 2 people behind him to block the way. There was no gap in the past. "Miss Qinya, it's not that I don't want to let you go. It's just that the Lord has given a death order. If we disturb the Dr. Lu, we can't afford to pay for our lives. In other words, I let you in, but there are 2 maids in the door. You can't get in. What do you want? Tell me about it. I can get through to you." This little fellow is obviously not a dull person. Seeing that Chinya is very angry, he doesn't conflict with her. He is still a good-natured explanation. Chinya sneered, but she didn't even try to break in. She directly sneered, "No wonder everyone in the house says you are smooth. Now I see you, and you really live up to your reputation." The smile on the boy's face was stiff for a moment, and he spoke unnaturally. "What do you mean, girl? Think for yourself. What I said just now is not for you." Chinya was even colder, so she didn't leave any affection. "Naturally, you are considerate of me, and you are also worried about the princess. The princess asked you to tell the prince earlier and send some doctors to serve him. But now it's midnight, and the princess is sick and unconscious, but you don't even see the shadow of half a doctor. You really have to work hard." The boy's face was a little ugly, but he thought that Chinya was a stranger, and that he was the one who was responsible for the loss, so he could only bear the unhappiness in his heart and compensate with a very smooth smile. "The girl said this, but she wronged me. Although I brought Lu Yui over, the Lord didn't let me wait at all, but I didn't even see the Lord's face. How can I talk with him?" Chinya snorted coldly, and her face was almost relieved. "Mrs. Nan's disease is a disease. Our princess is the most respected hostess in the mansion. According to the rules, it should be a top priority. If you really care, you should let people report to the prince. How can the prince always respect and spoil the princess? I didn't expect that Chinya would tell me what happened in my heart." The boy's face turned black, and his fake smile was not there. He said in a deep voice, "Miss Chinya, I know you are wasting my time and learning so skillfully. But I can't let you in if you say flowers." Chinya's anger suddenly surged to her heart, glared at the housekeeper, raised her voice and said, "You are presumptuous. Now the princess is still in a coma. If you delay your illness, you can afford to pay for your dog's life?" Just now, he was told by Chinya that he lost his face. He didn't want to talk in his dress. He said without a smile, "If you go in and disturb the king's favorite Lady Nan, it's also a death, and you'll lose money. In contrast, if you disturb the princess, you'll be loyal to your duty. I think the king will take it lightly." Qin Yajiao's cheek is red, and she gives the boy a hard look. Then she wants to rush in regardless. The boy asks the other two to stop him, and all of a sudden there is a lot of noise. "Who's making noise outside?" Silence AI hall suddenly sounded noise. In the inner hall of the South Crane eyebrow cannot help but see you, to the empty hall of words. In the hall, where no one should have answered, a dark guard, dressed in tight sleeves, jumped down from nowhere and leaned slightly in front of Nan He. It's the little girl beside the princess. It seems that she wants to break in. Nan He's light eyes deepened slightly, but there was nothing different on his face. "It's just a little girl. You don't have to worry about it. If you really break in, just do what you should do." The dark Wei face has no facial expression of point head, is. At the end of the speech, the whole room disappeared quietly. Feeling that the house was completely quiet, Nan Hawu sat down beside himself, carrying a celadone cup, and his lips slightly raised. "How can I not follow the Lord's orders? I'm afraid you didn't train your slaves well in ordinary times." This point intruder, but want to kill unforgivable, Mo Shanghua himself will send his right-hand man to the door. How can she so easily let her go back unharmed? And outside Chinya, regardless of the hard rushed past, the little guy stood on the side. "See, also don't stop," but directly to the two are entangled with Chinya. Make a wink. The two people just stopped Chinya from going in, but now they got the look of a little boy, so they had no patience and pushed her away. Chinya, after all, was a woman with a very thin constitution. Naturally, she could not stand the push of two men in their prime. She stepped back for several steps and then fell to the ground. The little boy came to Chinya and said coldly, "Miss Chinya, if you don't go any more, don't blame us for being rude. The floor is paved with bluestone." Chin Yatin fell down with all kinds of meat and vegetables. His knees hurt. He even struggled to stand up. I think he broke his flesh. Chinya glared angrily at the boy for a long time, but she did not say a word. Instead, she struggled to get up and limped to the two boys who were blocking the way. "The princess is still in a coma, and life and death are uncertain. He is not afraid of death. Are you not afraid? If you don't have his guts, get out of here. The two boys are obviously not as good as that boy's general mind. Chinya says that they are all in a meal and look at each other hesitantly. Taking advantage of this gap, Chinya quickly covered her ears. Her thin body nimbly drilled through the gap between the two people. Bearing the sharp pain of her knee, she limped and trotted towards the direction of the dormitory. What are you doing in a daze? Why don't you hurry back? When he saw this, he was very angry. A few people see this just returned to God, hurriedly pursued. As everyone knows, when several people approached the bedroom hall, the dark guard's eyes hidden in the dark were all over them. His right hand almost synchronously touched the short sword at his waist, and his murderous spirit suddenly appeared in his eyes. Chin Yasi didn't notice the danger. She still bit her teeth and went to the South Lady's bedroom. At the moment, there is only one idea in her heart, that is to take Lu Jing back anyway, and the princess must not have anything to do. Who's talking outside? The dagger in the dark Wei's hand was about to be taken out, but at this time, the maid who had been guarding outside the bedroom suddenly came out, followed by Lu Jing with an urgent face. The dagger in the dark Wei's hand was put away at this moment, and his breath was hidden again. As before, he watched this side like a shadow. No one knows. As long as it's a little later, a woman will die here, and even the body can't be found in the capital. After hearing this, Chinya stepped forward and looked directly over the maid to Lu Jing behind her. Then she quickened her pace and knelt down in front of him with a puff. Dr. Lu, I beg you, please go to see my princess. Miss Chinya, get up quickly. Lu Jing noticed Chinya's limp when she was just walking. He quickly stepped forward and lifted her up. I see you seem to have suffered some minor injuries on your leg. Don't kneel more. By the way, you are in such a hurry, but what's wrong with the princess? Speaking of the back, his palms are unconsciously slightly tightened, his face worried. Princess, she vomited blood again after you left. Now she is unconscious, and I don't know what's going on. Su has just suffered a lot of grievances. At first sight, when Lu Jing comes to rescue, Chinya has some grievances in her heart, and her eyes are slightly red. Don't worry. I'm more worried than you. Come on, I'll go with you. Seeing this, Lu Jing could not hide his worries at the bottom of his eyes. He would follow Chinya to avoid the two maidservants. Looking at Lu Jing's posture, the young man who chases after Chinya stops them. He looks back and orders them in a low voice. He retreats. The little boy just stepped down, but the maid who followed Lu Jing changed her face. Dr. Lu, I'm only ordered to accompany you back to get things. If you leave at this time, don't you want my life? Lu Jing thought about it, took off a sign from his waist and said, It's urgent for the princess. I have to see the situation first. In this way, you can go to the traditional Chinese medicine hall of the mansion to get what you need, and then you can stay there for a while. After seeing the princess, I'll go to find you, and I'll go back together. I can't see anything unusual. The maid thought about it carefully. Although she knew that this method was feasible, she could not help hesitating when she thought about the consequences of being found. Chinya was in a hurry. Seeing that the maid was reluctant to speak, she grabbed Lu Jing's sleeve and dragged him forward. I can't wait, Dr. Lu. Please follow me first. Please do as Dr. Lu says. After a while, she was a long way away. Seeing this, the maid didn't dare to shout and chase. She was punished because of the noise, so she had to compromise. When Lu Jing goes back with Chinya, Qin Lin almost can't bear it. He wants to go out of the house to find a doctor. At this time, he suddenly sees that Chinya is coming with Lu Jing. He stands up and signs to Lu Jing to treat the flowers. Lu Jing's eyes only stayed on Qin Lin for a moment, then fixed his eyes on the faint flowers behind him and went away in a hurry. Even just all the way trot caused wheezing have no time to calm down. They can't wait to grab the flower's soft wrist, droop eyes pulse. Qin Lin and Chinya are all nervously gathered around the bed, trying to restrain their breathing for fear of disturbing Lu Jing. As he expected, the situation is far worse than when he left. Just now, it was just internal breathing disorder. Now, she must have adjusted herself. As a result, she did not control it properly. As a result, her true qi leaked out and flowed into the meridians. She had already scattered around the meridians. If she had been dragging on for a long time, she would have rushed into the heart. By that time, she would surely die. Thinking of this, Lu Zheng's heart trembled again and his complexion was complicated. At present, the best and quickest way is for a person with profound internal power to help her sort out her internal power, and then lead her back to the dantian, and then he will help her pass the acupoints with silver needles, and the pills to recuperate internal injuries, and then she will get better. But he doesn't know how to do it. If we use other methods, absolutely not. That method is really dangerous. If you don't control it properly, your internal power will directly rush into your heart and lead to heart failure. Through the half-open screen window, Nanhe looks at Lu Zheng, who has already gone far with Qinya. It's a pity that there's a touch of sadness in his eyes. His eyes are deep and beautiful. So, it's time to invite the one back. Thinking of this, she closed the woodcut screen window, went back to the bed, opened the secret way and went in. He walked in the dark road for half an hour before he went out from another exit. At that time, she was already outside the city gate. Outside the city, which should have been dark and peaceful, it was already different from the past. There were people in chaos and the bodies of guards in the city. However, it seems that the battle has passed for a while. At this time, there are only some guards and doctors in the city who are cleaning up the remnants. South Crane carefully avoid guards. Along the mark left by their people along the way, rhyme up lightness skills, find outside the city. When we arrived at a remote field in the suburb, we saw a small group of dark guards in dark clothes wrestling with more than a dozen disabled people, and the situation was very obvious. The group in dark clothes was obviously better than others, and the disabled people were just the end of the crossbow. The South Crane passes the Yanbei city not far away from the scuffle. The deep color of his eyes is covered at this time, and then he mentions the lightness skill. Lord. Nanhe lowered his eyes, clasped his hands and opened his mouth respectfully, but his thin body was still as straight as pine and bamboo. Yen Beiqing covered his cheek in most of his cloak, and his thin lip opened slightly. What's the matter? Such a cold and emotionless voice makes Nanhe feel different. She is very curious. If he knows the current situation of Mo Shanghua, what will happen? Although she thought so in her heart, she had no flaw in her face and said, the person who arranged for the princess came to report that the princess had vomited blood and was in a coma after she healed that one. Now the situation is unknown. Yen Beiqing's originally deep and cold eyes suddenly burst into waves, like ice and storm eyes suddenly fell on Nanhe. What is the situation unknown? My king is not here. You can't even do this thing well? What about Lu Zheng? Did you send him? Lord, you forget, you told me that Dr. Lu had to stay at my place for one night to convince people. The South Crane's face remained unchanged and responded calmly. No one can see that her two hands on the side of her body have been tightly clenched into fists uncontrollably, and her heart has been depressed for a long time, and the pain has come out uncontrollably. She is entangled with her like silk thread, and she can't get rid of it. The funny thing is that she just thought she would never feel again, but she didn't expect it to be like this. It hurts. Well, this is also a reminder to her that she must not forget the pain of the flowers in the street. Even she did not know, her drooping eyebrows had been dyed with a bit of self-mockery. Fortunately, Yen Beiqing didn't pay attention to her expression. Now he began to see her pale face and incomparable weakness in his mind. Thinking about this, his pupils couldn't help shrinking violently, and he was worried more than ever. However, he did not blame the South Crane, but looked at the same Xuanyi people behind him. Mo Ling, clean up. Yes. Mo Ling had no objection and bowed down. As soon as Mo Ling's voice fell, Yen Beiqing's body rose like a hurricane. In a flash, it fell on a fast horse and disappeared. After he returned to the house, he didn't have time to change his clothes, so he directly broke into the window of Mo Shanghua's room. Fortunately, at this time, Lu Zheng had invited Qin Linqinya out. Even so, Lu Zheng was surprised, and the silver needles in his hand almost pricked the wrong acupoints. Where did Yen Beiqing manage so much? He took off his cloak and quickly stepped to the front of the collapse. Why is she still sleeping? What's the situation now? Lu Jing fixed his eyes and saw that it was Yanbei City. He was not surprised. He put down the silver needle and leaned over his luggage. Then he said, "The princess has suffered internal injury. Now her internal breathing is disordered in the meridians." After a pause, his face was a little happy. Wei Chen was just about to make a bad plan. Since the prince came, it's better to help the princess calm her internal power first. In this way, Wei Chen can continue to treat. Good. Yan Beiqing did not hesitate to come down, did not think about any worries. When Lu Zheng heard the speech, he was stunned. After thinking about it, he said, "Mr. Wang, I haven't finished my words just now, so there is a certain risk. If you are careless, your internal power may be damaged together. If it's serious." Before the end of the sentence, Yan Beiqing interrupted directly. His face was calm, and he didn't see any fear. He only had the worried color that could not be covered up in his eyes. "Don't say it. At the moment, I just want to know how to do it. Even half of the consequences are not considered, is really not care about their own body, or seriously care too much about her." Lu Zheng couldn't help but have such a question in his heart. His heart was obscure and complicated. After a long time, he realized it. He quickly suppressed his confused thoughts and said, "Okay, please sit cross-legged behind the princess first. Concentrate on your luck, 6 in 1. Yan Beiqing nodded slightly, listened to Lu Zheng's words, sat cross-legged behind the flower, and began to concentrate on his luck. He put a small part of his powerful internal power into the flower and controlled it to calm the flower's internal power. If Emo Shanghua is awake at this time, she will feel the burning pain in her body, which is gradually alleviating. Just like the clear spring water, she slowly caresses every inch of Dantian meridian, and the discomfort is greatly reduced. In the end, Yan Beiqing had deep internal power and was extremely intelligent. He could understand the meaning at a little. In only half an hour, he successfully adjusted the disordered breath of Emo Shanghua and forced the blood stasis out of her body. Yan Beiqing leans Emo Shanghua's soft and thin body on his chest, takes a sweat towel and gently wipes off her lips. Only then can he spit out the blood stained by the congestion. The anger and indifference between his eyebrows and eyes dissipate completely at this time, as if he was such a gentle and meticulous person. Even Lu Zheng on one side is surprised. The Yanbei city he had seen before was indifferent and merciless. When did he see him so gentle? Did he really? Is it very affectionate? Thinking of this, Lu Zheng began to smile bitterly from the corner of his lips and gathered his look in his eyes. "Prince, I'm going to give the princess a needle." "Well." Yanbei city light, carefully put the flower back on the bed, the position in front of the bed, but still closely follow the eyes of the flower. Looking at the flower on the street with closed eyes, he was stabbed with silver needles by Lu Zheng. It was just like stabbing Yan Beiqing's heart. It made him feel a pain in his heart. After seeing it for a while, he moved his eyes. He was afraid that he would stop Lu Zheng and hurt her. When it was getting light, Lu Zhengkai put away the last silver needle. "How?" Although Yan Beiqing didn't look sideways, his ears were also paying attention to the movements. Lu Zheng just finished. He turned around and asked impatiently, "The princess has nothing to do. Just take good care of her for a few days. The prince doesn't have to worry too much." Lu Zheng wiped the sweat on his forehead, and his complexion was much more relaxed. Yan Beiqing felt that the big stone in his heart had fallen to the ground, and even his breathing seemed to be much smoother. Lu Zheng looked at Yan Beiqing's black robes in the future and said, "The princess will wake up in a little while. Will the prince go to change clothes first?" Yan Beiqing looked down at his robes. Later, he realized that he had forgotten to change his clothes. He was so reckless. Although he has learned from Hua Qianlu that Emo Shanghua seems to have guessed his identity, there are so many people in the house that he doesn't bother to be in trouble if there is any. Thinking about this, Yan Beiqing did not refuse. "Well, I will go back to change clothes and come back later." "Take your time, Lord." Lu Zheng bowed himself to salute. Before he got up, he had already walked to Yenbei City by the window and said, "Yesterday's play has not been finished. You should go to Nanha as soon as possible." Yenbei City left the flower place on the street, then quietly went to Nanha to exchange the clothes he wore yesterday. Before he could deal with the matter here, he saw that Nanha had already knelt down in the outer room. As soon as Yen Beicheng came out, she said in a loud voice, "I heard that the princess almost lost her life. It was the inferior strategy that my subordinates came up with yesterday that delayed the princess. In addition, the notice was too late, so I asked the king to surrender." Yenbei City stops, and the eagle-like sharp eyes scan the face of Nanha slowly. If he was an ordinary person, he didn't do anything wrong. He would feel guilty when he was staring at him like this. But Nanha still kept his eyes slightly closed, neither humble nor arrogant, and couldn't see half guilty. Yen Beicheng stared at her for a long time. Seeing that she didn't respond much, he closed his eyes and walked by her. "You should be glad that the princess is safe. Remember, next time anyone I arrange to be with the princess, if there is something important, I will not stop him." "Yes." The South Crane whispered that it should be, without any objection. However, in the drooping eyes, it was a look of clear relief. Before, she deliberately delayed Lu Zheng and tried to get rid of Qinya. She didn't do it very clearly. Now she is retreating to avoid Yen Beicheng's suspicion. Now it seems that she is right. "Get up and follow me to finish the play." Yenbei City lifted the bottom and sat down beside the bed, with no expression on his face. "Yes." Nanhe just stood up and straightened his bun. He thought he would make it a little bit messy. He went back to bed and lay down with his eyes closed. In addition, he made a pale appearance with powder, as if he was seriously ill. Next, it was nothing more than a play, which made the world think that Lu Zheng's skillful hand revived and saved her. After all, one day when Nanha is in the palace, there will be one more hidden pile in Yenbei City, which is convenient for many things. Qinya took the medicine from the maid and said, "Brother, help me to help the princess get up. I'll feed her the medicine." Qin Lin nodded, wiped his hand on his body, and then came forward to help the flowers on the street. His action is very careful. 2 hands only lightly hold the shoulder of Emo Shanghua, dare not have half extra touch. After lifting her up, immediately put 2 soft pillows behind her, let her lean on the soft pillow. Qinya took a small spoonful of the medicine with a spoon, blew it on her lips, and then sent it to Emo Shanghua's lips. She fed it carefully. Just fed 2 spoonfuls, the sleepy Emo Shanghua suddenly coughed 2 times, and the soup just fed in his mouth coughed out, spoiling a bowl of soup. However, Qin Lin and Qinya didn't have time to regret it. Instead, they were both happy. Qinya almost hit the bowl in her hand. She quickly stabilized herself and put the bowl aside. Qin Lin took the handkerchief carefully and handed it to her. "Princess, you wake up at last. Are you better? Is there anything wrong?" Qinya put down the medicine bowl, then asked busily, full of concern. Emo Shanghua took Qin Lin's handkerchief and wiped the medicine juice on her lips. Then she said in a hoarse voice, "No harm." Speaking, if her eyes seemed to have no in the house swept once, seems to be looking for something. "Princess, what are you looking at? But not very well?" Qinya turns her head and sweeps around the house. "Nothing." Emo Shanghua takes back her eyes and takes her right hand to her pulse. Compared with before, her pulse has become more stable now, even the disordered breathing in her body has all calmed down, and she swims steadily in her dantian. "Who helped me with my diagnosis and treatment?" Emo Shanghua raised her eyes in surprise. She cured her internal injury in such a short time. She really couldn't think of what helped her adjust her breath. "It's Dr. Lu." Qinya didn't know that Yenbei City was in the room yesterday. She said, "Yesterday you fainted again. I was so scared that I ran to the South Lady and asked Lu to come over." "Dr. Lu?" Emo Shanghua's face was even more surprised. After a while, he whispered, "I used to look down on him." Qin Lin saw that Qinya was chatting with Emo Shanghua, so he took the medicine he had not finished feeding. He said in sign language, "I'm going to boil a bowl of medicine. Sister, you are with the princess." Qinya nodded like a pound of garlic, and was about to sit down on the sandalwood stool. At the door came a little boy's announcement. "The Lord is coming." The color of the flower eyes on the street darkened instantly, and the corners of his lips pursed into a straight line. Qinya didn't notice the abnormality of the flowers on the street, so she just saluted herself. "I heard that the princess was in an emergency. What's the situation now?" "Dr. Lu, you didn't come to see it in the middle of the night yesterday. You can see the princess again and see how she is now." Before people arrived, Yan Beiqing's voice came in far away, and the worry in the language was very clear. Lu Zheng was about to come forward when he heard the flowers saying, "No need. I've had a pulse myself. It's no big problem. The Lord is keeping the Imperial Dr. Lu. It's a waste of time for me. I'd better take the Imperial Dr. Lu to see Nanji. I heard that she is critically ill." The Imperial Dr. Lu saw the midnight yesterday, and now Nanner is well, and now he has gone to sleep. Yan Beiqing waved Lu Zheng to stay still for a while. When Yan opened his mouth, his past irregularities seemed to have diminished a lot after that night. "I'm also a little tired. I want to have a rest. Please come back," he said. Qinya was puzzled. Her master just woke up. How could she be sleepy again? This morning meal is useless. Yen North City choked a choke, and then staring at the thin figure of flowers on the street to see for a while, just irritable toward Qinya, and others waved, "You go first." "Yes." Seeing this, Qinya and others could only obediently comply. Even Lu Zheng voluntarily withdrew. There were only two of them in the room. Rao was so. They were also silent. No one spoke first. Mo Shanghua wanted to wait for a while, but she couldn't wait for Yan Beiqing's words. She was so angry that she simply closed her eyes and made a serious gesture to sleep. Yan Beiqing noticed Mo Shanghua's action. He wanted to raise his hand to turn her body around. His hand reached an inch of her shoulder, but he stopped again. He also thought that the flower on the street was hurt again. He was afraid that he might hurt her unintentionally. But Mo Shanghua turned his back to him. He was not comfortable when he spoke. After thinking about it, he stood up, bent down and looked at Mo Shanghua squarely. "Is there something wrong with the princess? Could it be that I went to Nanji's place yesterday without saying hello and made the princess jealous?" Speaking, the warm breath sprayed on the cheek of Mo Shanghua, which made Mo Shanghua uncomfortable and had to open her eyes. Never thought. Fong opened his eyes, then on the north city of Yen, a pair of eyes that seemed to contain the ocean as deep and deep, make her more uncomfortable. She simply turned around and pushed Yan Beiqing away. She sat up and said, "I'm afraid I think too much. I'm just too tired. I'm afraid I can't even rest if I continue like this." At this time, Yan Beiqing was not impatient with his maidservants. Instead, he sat down patiently beside his bed and said, "When you just pushed away my king, it didn't look like you were tired. Princess, if you are really upset, I will explain to you. I don't want to know what happened yesterday, but Nana was very ill yesterday. How can I not go? I thought that when he put down his posture like this, he coaxed me with a good temper, and the flowers on the street would be relieved. But I didn't want to." The more he said that, the more condensed the faces of the flowers on the street were, as if they were covered with ice. "The Lord has just said that Nanji has just escaped the gate of death. In that case, why don't you go to Nanji to guard? I think the first thing Nanji wants to see when she wakes up is you." Seeing this, Yan Beiqing gathered a smile on his lips and said, "Nanji is okay. It's Princess Yu. How to say, it's just for helping Wang. What I should see most is you." Mo Shanghua turned his face and didn't look at Yan Beiqing's cheek. He said coldly, "Thank you for your kindness. I've said it again. I'm in good health. You've seen it now. It's time to go back. If you don't go back, I have to rest." After a pause, her eyes and eyebrows became more and more condensed. "I need to rest." The words had already said this. Yan Beiqing and even the words in his throat immediately swallowed back, silent for a long time, no words, disguised clear eyes gradually dark. In fact, what he said just now was his limit. He is a proud man. All the rascal's mischief is just his disguise. It's very difficult for him to let go of his pride again and again. What's more, he didn't say anything to her yesterday, for fear of disturbing him. After he went out, he had a meeting with Qin Yaji, but she was so indifferent that he couldn't understand. Well, since she doesn't want him here now, there's no need for him to be boring here. Thinking of this, he stood up and said, "In that case, the princess will have a good rest." No one can see, turning around, his eyes quietly across a helpless color. Until Yen Beiqing came out of the house, the flowers on the street didn't turn their eyes to see his back. They just listened to the footsteps in the house, and the coldness on their face faded slowly. They were a bit lost in their eyes. Previously, she deliberately tried to see Yen Beiqing's reaction after she was injured. Later, she didn't see any news coming from there all night, and even half a doctor hadn't come. She really didn't know what he thought in his heart. Before Ming Ming, he was good to her. How could he ignore her now? This morning, she was already well, but she brought Lu Zheng to have a look. How could she have no waves in her heart? However, she couldn't tell what she was driving him away for. She only knew that she was not very comfortable and stuffy. She seemed to be suffocating. "Princess?" Qinya didn't know when she came in. Seeing that she was in a trance, she could not help calling softly. Emo Shanghua is half of the reaction is no, self-care of the heart, eyes muddled. With such a childlike look, Qinya saw it on the flower's face for the first time. Her heart suddenly jumped. She quickly raised her hand and shook her shoulder. "Princess, princess." Emo Shanghua, this just returned to God. The look in the eyes will hide in a flash, only a piece of dark that people can't understand. What's the matter? Originally, this should be the Emo Shanghua that Qinya knew. But the thought of Emo Shanghua's just appearance and her cover-up appearance made Qinya have to think more. Why did the prince come in for such a short time? "Princess, you look like this and lost your soul." Speaking of this, she crossed Yen Beiqing's way of going out just now in her mind. Then she suddenly realized and asked, "Are you keeping Mrs. Nan's business for the king all night? Are you angry with the king?" "Why should I be angry with him?" Emo Shanghua turned her eyes and asked. There was no anger between her eyebrows and eyes. On the contrary, she was really confused. She is just a little unhappy in her heart. What does it have to do with those who hold their breath? Qinya, she stared at Emo Shanghua's delicate cheek for a long time to confirm that she really didn't understand. She reorganized the language in her heart and then said, "Since you don't understand the princess, the servant girl came to ask you, what did you say to the Lord just now?" Emo Shanghua only feels that Qinya is close to each other, so she doesn't want to hide it. She tells her dialogue with Yen Beiqing just now. After hearing this, Qinya could not help looking at the flowers on the street, shaking her head and sighing. She could not help murmuring, "Princess, you have always been smart. How can this aspect be like rotten wood?" The flower on the street looks at her and looks like she is all ears. Seeing this, Qinya tilted her head and thought about it. Then she said, "Let's talk to the princess." When I was working in the village's rich man's house, I once saw that the master of that family wanted to take a concubine back, but his wife refused to allow him to see the woman. Whenever I mentioned this, I would get angry with the rich man. All the servants in the same house said that it was jealousy, and food vinegar, no matter how generous on the surface, can be found after a woman gets married. What's more, when I was a child, when I saw my neighbor's uncle saying one more word to another woman, the family would chase him with a broom. With that, she couldn't help laughing and her eyebrows and eyes were flying. "You mean I'm jealous and jealous now?" Emo Shanghua is not a dull person. He is a little bit transparent and immediately asks. Qinya nodded at once, like pounding garlic. "You are not jealous. What can you do? If you want me to tell you this, you can be excused. Otherwise, don't worry too much about it." Excusable? It's excusable to know that she was seriously injured and comatose, but she didn't even send someone to ask for a few words. Is that excusable? At the thought of this, she was inexplicably depressed. Her eyes and eyebrows coagulated again, and her thin lips condensed and said, "I'm not jealous or jealous as you said." Not jealous? What can that be? It's clear that you just said. Now Qinya is puzzled. She stares at the flower for a long time, trying to recall what the flower said to her, and some details about them that are easy to be ignored. After thinking about this for a long time, her brain suddenly flashed. Yesterday, what Emo Shanghua said was to test suddenly appeared in her mind, and she understood it in an instant. If she was just jealous, Qinya could still persuade her. But she could not persuade her to do it in a few words. This is the knot of a stranger. She is not an outsider. Thinking about this, she could not help but sigh a long time, holding her cheeks in both hands and staring at the flowers on the street. "Princess, what are you going to do now?" "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Maybe when I feel comfortable, I will know how to plan." Qinya helplessly looked at the flowers on the street and got up and said, "My brother is still frying medicine. I'll go to see how it is. You can rest by yourself first." Emo Shanghua's delicate chin dots. His complexion is still blurred and complicated, and he doesn't even lift his head, which is obviously enchanted again. The next few days, Emo Shanghua simply closed the door, while maintaining their own injuries, from time to time let people see the situation of Yunji. Yen Beiqing came here once in a while, but she didn't see her. Lu Zheng seems to have something to do these days and seldom comes to see her. However, in addition to a few of them, an unexpected guest came today. "Your Second Highness Wanan." Emo Shanghua sees that Yen Moli is led in by Qinya, but she is still sitting on the soft collapse. She only nods slightly. "I'm still ill and weak. I can't get up to say hello to your highness. I hope your highness will forgive me." Yen Mo's lips pointed out a slight radiance, and his face was gentle. "Naturally, your body is important. You can be excused. How can we blame you? Thank you for your understanding." The flowers on the street gathered their eyes and sat down, in a state of neither humble nor overbearing. "Qin Lin, give your highness a seat." Qin Lin bowed and gave a salute. After a while, he quickly brought up a chair and put it aside. Yen Moli did not shirk it, so he sat down naturally. He straightened the folds on his robe, and then raised his head again. "I heard that the princess had been sick and even vomited blood since she helped me with my treatment that day. I've been resting these days. I think it's probably because of my medical treatment. I'm really sorry, so I'll come to see how you are now." Isn't he suspicious of her again? The flower heart on the street suddenly jumps out this idea. The facial expression is invariable. "Your highness is worried." Emo Shanghua smiles politely, with a brilliant face. "Everything in the house is mostly for my servants to chew their tongue. How can it be so exaggerated? Besides, when I was treating my highness, there was Imperial Dr. Lu to help me. How could I be seriously ill? It's just an old disease. Your highness doesn't need to blame himself." Yen Mo's eyes were slightly deep, but his mouth seemed to have no intention to say, "I remember that you used to be quite healthy, and you didn't see the doctor in the Prime Minister's house." Emo Shanghua raised her hand and pressed her eyebrows. She said, "When I got married in Yuzhou, I was on the road for more than a month. The road was bumpy. This old disease fell from that time. I'm afraid it's not perfect for 3 or 2 years." "How could it be so serious?" Yen Emo raised his eyebrows slightly and was surprised. Emo Shanghua's face was light, and he didn't see the slightest state of depression due to illness. The days in the future are still long, and there's no need to worry about 3 or 2 years. After a pause, a touch of ink passed through her quiet eyes, and she looked straight at Yen Moli. "Your highness said, isn't it?" Yen Moli's deep eyes inevitably turned to the eyes of the flowers on the street, and the ink color in the eyes gradually deepened. "What princess you said is very natural." The two men's eyes are all dark, but their faces are just calm. It seems that they haven't played a single role. In fact, they have fought each other for thousands of times. The difference in one move is the same as sending their weaknesses to each other. Unfortunately, it seems that the outcome of this battle is still uncertain. However, the two people's confrontation, the air has been uncontrolled stagnation down, there seems to be invisible smoke in the gradually diffuse. Your Highness said that after talking with the princess for such a long time, you must be thirsty. Why don't you drink some tea? The tea is specially bought by the Lord. It's the most popular tea in the imperial city. May I have a taste? Yen Moli took the Celadon teacup, and while he lowered his head and stroked the tea foam, he said casually, I didn't expect that the news from Yuzhou spread so fast that he could even know what tea was popular in the capital. What seems to be unintentional is actually meaningful. After all, if Yen Beiqing, who has always been a waste of firewood, can inquire about all the fashionable things in Huangcheng so clearly and quickly, it can be seen whether he is really stupid or not. At the moment when his voice fell, Qinya's face was white. She turned her eyes to look at the flowers on the street for help. The flowers in the street also picked up the teacup and tapped the Celadon pattern on the teacup with their fingertips. Qinya is wrong. The journey from Yuzhou to the imperial city will be more than a month. It will take nearly 2 months to pass on such fashionable tea and other things. I'm afraid it's not fashionable in the imperial city. Therefore, it can only be regarded as fashionable in the imperial city a few months ago. I don't know if your highness is still used to drinking? Qinya nervously grabbed the corner of her clothes and then released it. She gathered her eyes and said, It's my maid who didn't think it all. I forgot this layer. Your highness is laughing. He who does not know is not guilty. CB on Mo flower easily dissolve. Yen Mo Li Mao inside the facial expression tiny turn, hang head tiny pursed a cup of tea. When the tea just came in, he frowned and took the cup away from him. I've lived near Yuzhou for so long. I'm not used to drinking this tea, but it's the most popular Chinese tea in Yuzhou. Qinya was also a smart man. He immediately understood Yen Moli's implication, took the teacup and said, Since your highness likes the tea, I'll change it. The flowers on the street saw this, and the light of eyes fell on Qin Lin, who was still standing on the side, and gave him a silent wink. Qin Lin knew it, and then he retreated quietly. Originally, there were only Qin Lin and Qinya in the house, but now they have retired, leaving only Mo Shanghua and Yen Moli in the house. Mo Shanghua drank the tea in the cup. When her thirst was relieved, she said, Now you and I are the only ones left. What does your highness want to say? The princess's mind seems to be much more intelligent than before, as if she had changed her personality. Yen Mo Li Mao light if there seems to be no in the Mo Shanghua's cheek on a circle, the final frame in her eyes. Mo Shanghua didn't look at him, but he didn't dodge too much. He was very generous and decent. If your highness had experienced the same thing, I'm afraid it would not be the same. Otherwise, your highness would not be sitting here and talking to me like this now. Yen Mo Li's eyes unconsciously fixed on Mo Hua's delicate and beautiful cheek. He only felt that when she said this, her expression was flat and her eyes didn't change much, as if she had been relieved and didn't care about the past. It's as if we can be so calm when we talk about such a tragic past. It's like we've gone through all the vicissitudes and seen through the world. Otherwise, we'll press down all our emotions deeply. It's harmless on the surface, but in fact, we'll press a demon in the heart. When the right time comes, we'll wait for the opportunity and take people's lives. Today's Mo Shanghua, in his view, is more like the latter. I'm afraid it's hard to control. But the more difficult it was to control, the more he wanted to see her. Thinking of this, Yen Moli pressed down the surging ink color at the bottom of his eyes, raised a gentle smile at the corner of his lips, and said, I heard that the emperor's younger brother always dotes on the beautiful concubine in the palace. Yesterday, because the beautiful concubine was ill, he called all the doctors and stayed in bed all night. As a result, the princess was very ill, but no one could cure her. Mo Shanghua eyebrow eyes don't move, light reply way. This matter afraid is already in the mansion everybody knows, but didn't think, your highness originally also is alike to listen to the person to chew the tongue base. Being so insinuated, Yen Mo didn't see any anger on his face. Princess, do you remember what I told you before? Before? Mo Flower Lien Mao carefully recalled a moment, and then just slightly nodded, I remember. What he said should be the words that he discussed with her when he came to the palace that day. However, there was a heart of provocation in his words, and it was obvious that he wanted her to be used by him. Yen Mo's eyes looked at the flowers on the street, thin lips and light words, as if the words were just ordinary things. Now the emperor's younger brother dotes on Nanji, and most people in the palace are partial to Nanji. If my words come true that day, I'm afraid Nanji is the only choice for the princess after that. Are you credible? Emo Shanghua seemed to listen carefully for a long time, but she didn't touch her face. She only said lightly, Nanji was born into a prostitute. Chinya has already told her about Nanha's identity and background. On the surface, he is just a prostitute. If he really wants to be a princess, he can't pass the imperial examination. The princess must have forgotten that my younger brother has already taken off her prostitution status. She is now an innocent woman. Yen Emoli disapproved of the smile. In this way, as long as the emperor's younger brother wants to, I'm afraid even the father can't talk more. Emo Shanghua has no words. She stares at Yen Moli quietly, as if she has nothing to say. Seeing this, Yen Emoli was not in a hurry to be happy. He went on to say to himself, what kind of life will you live in Yuzhou without the throne of princess? I don't think you need to talk about it in this hall. In a word, it's not easy to make up your mind. But if you want to be in your position, it's not hard to get there. On the street, the cherry-colored lips are slightly pursed, the slender eyelashes are slightly drooping, and a serious look. After a long time, she suddenly raised her eyes and said with no smile, when your highness arrived in Yuzhou, even his life was saved by me. If you only rely on one mouth, don't mention me, you are a 3-year-old. I'm afraid you won't believe it easily. What if we let the princess see the strength of our palace? Yen Moli's complexion remained unchanged, and he was still calm and relaxed, and his eyes were full of confidence. That minister concubine is from should regard benefit as respect. Emo Shanghua sat up straight, but her words were sincere, especially the concubine, which she had never used in front of Yen Beiqing. On the one hand, she was not used to it, and on the other hand, she was proud of herself. Yen Moli naturally noticed that Emo Shanghua never claimed to be like this. Now she was willing to be like this. He stood up and said, thanks for the princess's trust. Even so, although the princess can rest assured, we will never let her down. Emo Shanghua noticed that Yen Moli, who was confident but introverted in front of her eyes, was slightly reminded by the symbolic corner of her lips, wait and see. Yen Emoli sees this and smiles at her. Then he turns around and leaves. It seems that he has gone back to prepare. Chinya takes the position at the gate of the tea marquee, and when Yen Emoli comes out, she dares to go in. As soon as she saw Emo Shanghua, she quickly took Emo Shanghua's arm and looked at her all over carefully. Princess, you just talked with him. You are afraid of death. After staying for a while, I am even more nervous. Please let me have a good look and see if you are hurt. Emo Shanghua let Chinya look at it again, then slowly opened her lips. Don't worry, I haven't lost yet. Especially in the fight with Yen Moli, she will not lose, nor can she lose. Once she loses, there is no hope of turning over. Chinya stares at Emo Shanghua's calm and indifferent cheek and can't help touching her arm. She feels that her hair seems to stand up. The look of the princess made her shudder, but there was more admiration and admiration. In her eyes, the princess of her family is really handsome. No matter what time she is always calm and calm. But under such calm and calm, there is a sharp blade hidden. If you don't do it, you must see blood. After making a deal with Yen Moli, in the evening, all the people in the palace spread the story. Everyone said that Nanha was carried to the side of the imperial concubine, and the imperial concubine would be out of favor. Maybe soon, even the imperial concubine's position would be given to Nanha. Yen Emoli stood by the window, looking at the drizzle outside the window and listening to the comments of the royal palace reported by the bodyguard. His face was still, but his eyes were gradually faded, and his mood seemed to be much better. Well done. After a long time, he was not in a hurry to praise. Although he was praised, the bodyguard did not dare to be complacent. After thinking about it, he said, Your Highness, I don't understand. Since you want to let her know your strength, why don't you just give her a sweet date, but give her a slap? Yen Emoli lips cape tiny hook, don't smile of openings, Do you think she is easy to give a sweet jujube will believe me? Moreover, she must have guessed the previous events, so how could she not bear hatred? The bodyguard's face was even more confused. I don't know why I can see that because my subordinates are stupid. Yen Mo Li Mao Guang gradually far reaching up, the corner of the lips smile turned to sneer. From her deliberate diagnosis and treatment to the temple, malicious urge drug, let the temple suffered a lot of pain, it is enough to see. If he didn't bear a grudge, how could he deliberately give him suffering again and again? Although he was in a daze that day, he could still hear a word from time to time. Of course, he didn't know that Emo Shanghua had added a medicine to the poison in his body. Otherwise, it would not be the case today. How could that be? The bodyguard heard the words and was shocked. But since that's the case, why do you want to do everything today? My subordinates are getting more and more confused. Of course, I want her to think that I still don't know anything. Yen Mo's lips were slightly crooked, and the bottom of his eyes was dark. In this hall, she was still too young. Moreover, even if we don't know this, we can't believe her. No matter whether it's flowers or others, for him, the most trustworthy is always himself. He wants to take advantage of the flowers on the street, but if he takes advantage of them with full precautions, otherwise, who knows when she will stab him in turn. The bodyguard's face was a little puzzling. He frowned and thought for a long time. Then he suddenly realized, the Lord is wise. Yen Moli was not complacent because of the compliment of the bodyguard, but still had the enigmatic look on his face. How did the tale deal with those people who were sent out before? Don't worry, Mr. Wang. No matter our people or the mobs, there are no survivors. Those who were caught also took poison and killed themselves on the spot. Well, Yen Mo Li Light again Wei, the fold of Imperial City handed over? Report back to the Lord. It has been sent as soon as possible. The guard hesitated and asked again, Your Highness, what's wrong with the poison in your body? Yen Mo Li shook his head gently, Dr. Zhang is not here, and I don't know about this hole. However, he hasn't stopped practicing martial arts in this hall recently, so she must have detoxified it. His move is so dangerous, so unexpected, so he still has a high degree of certainty Emo Shanghua will detoxify her. Yes, after returning to the Imperial City, my subordinates immediately went to ask for Dr. Zhang. The closer to the night, the more heavy the rain is. It's very hot in the house. If you don't get close to the window, you almost can't breathe. Emo Shanghua has always been insensitive to weather changes. Therefore, the house is sultry. She also sits at the table and has a graceful and decent meal. Chinya couldn't hold it for a long time, so she simply moved a low stool and sat down under the corridor, reaching for the rain on the cornice while listening to the sound of the rain on the ground. Since she regained her hearing, she has been extremely interested in all the sounds in her life. She only feels that everything in the world is extremely pleasant. When the house was quiet and peaceful, Qin Lin suddenly came back in the rain. Most of his clothes were soaked in the rain. As soon as Chinya saw that he was like this, she hurriedly took the handkerchief and said, Brother, Before he finished his sentence, he pushed Chinya Cheo aside and said in sign language, It's not in the way. After that, he went directly into the house and put aside the herbs he wanted to buy. Then he leaned over to say hello, gesticulating in sign language. Princess, when the slave came back, he heard that Mrs. Nan had been granted the title of side concubine by the Lord, and she also released the foot ban. She said that before the matter was settled, Mrs. Nan was innocent and there was no need to ban feet. That's true, but everyone else in the house said that it was because she was sick and bored that the Lord had specially lifted her foot ban so that she could go out to relax. It was quite difficult for him to draw such a complicated passage. After drawing it again, he could not help but draw it again for fear that the stranger would not understand it. At the same time, he faintly uttered some syllables that looked like words but not words. Emo Shanghua looks at Qin Lin's sign language expression. Her eyes, which are as quiet as an empty valley, suddenly change. It seems that there is something in her eyes, and oh, it seems that the calm ground is suddenly windy, and the leaves are rolling up. Did the prince take Nanji as his concubine? Flower lunging moment, subconsciously murmured repeated. Qin Lin hesitated and nodded, looking worried at the flowers on the street. Qin Ya's eyes were full of disbelief. How can it be? She's not qualified at all. Finish saying, just realize oneself is really too excited, busy cover mouth, the same worry of sea flowers. I saw the delicate and beautiful face of Emo Shanghua, and her look in her eyes was beyond Qin Linya's comprehension. However, she was only absent for a moment. After a moment, she returned to normal again, but her whole body momentum was more cool and unpredictable than just now. He did give me a big present. For a long time, the flowers on the street opened their lips and opened their mouth without expression. Yen Moli, who can give her unexpected joy from time to time, is really a disgusting opponent. In fact, she couldn't tell what she was thinking at the moment. She just felt that her chest was more and more stuffy, like being held by a hand, and the hand was still shrinking. She could hardly breathe. That day, Nanhe tore off his mask and said something provocatively, as well as Yen Beicheng turned a blind eye to her serious injury a few days ago. These pictures flashed through her mind in a flash, shrinking her heart more and more tightly. With a light grip on the palm of his hand, Emo Shanghua gathered his thoughts, put down his chopsticks, got up and went around to the bookcase, picked up the pen and wrote a line of words, then folded the paper and said, Qin Lin, when it's dark, you will quietly send this paper to your second highness. Qin Lin took the letter, but did not immediately return to his position. He could not help worrying and asked in sign language, Princess, are you really okay? Emo Shanghua shook his head, his eyes were quiet, and he couldn't see the color of sadness. These dishes have been taken away. I've eaten them well. As soon as the voice fell, Yen Beicheng's voice came in from the outer room. Before the voice came, he said, Don't withdraw. I haven't eaten yet. How can the princess withdraw? Qin Lin, Qin Ya's actions suddenly stopped, looking at the flowers on the street, as if waiting for her to show. I'll leave it to the king. The flower eyes on the street are a little chilly, and the steps only pause a little, then turn directly into the bedroom hall. Ah, princess. Yen Beicheng just entered the house, but he saw a piece of flowers on the street, so he rushed forward and chased after her. Qin Ya is still spending money on the stranger. She wants to catch up and stop her. Before she steps out, she is stopped by Qin Lin. She uses sign language to say, Let's not get involved in the affairs of princes and concubines. Seeing this, Qin Ya stamped her feet in shame, but she turned around and went out. Emo Shanghua enters the house. Before he sits down, he hears the sound of Yen Beicheng's hasty steps behind him. I don't know why, but I feel happy and angry, and I want to turn him away, and I want to hear what he wants to say. After thinking about it for a while, Yen Beicheng walked behind Emo Shanghua and said, How can the princess walk so fast? Is it because she is not happy after listening to some gossip? No, I'm just tired. Ming is said by Yen Beicheng, but Emo Shanghua still can't help being hard-mouthed. Yen Beicheng turned the body of Emo Shanghua, looked at her delicate cheek carefully for a while, and then said, I'm not angry. Look, your face is going to be blue. Emo Shanghua whisks Yen Beicheng's hand away, turns around and sits down with no expression on his face. The Lord is worried too much. Yen Beicheng was not angry either. He sat down beside him with a good temper and habitually took an empty teacup to play with. Let me guess. The princess seems to be not happy these days. She has been avoiding the king. If it wasn't for the king's coming quietly today, I'm afraid that she would be rejected by the princess directly. Besides other reasons, there must be more anger. I've heard that the king has made Nanner an imperial concubine. After a pause, he still came over with a smile. Princess, what I said is right? The flower eyebrows on the street moved, but still stiff, never spoke. She was not happy to be guessed so easily, but she could not refute or deny it if her throat was blocked by something. However, the next second, the smile on Yen Beicheng's face subsided, his eyebrows darkened, as if he had changed a person. But these are not what the princess wants to see. I'm satisfied with the princess. How can the princess be unhappy? The flower eyebrow heart on the MO is tiny Siu, Again don't understand again is to take a few minutes. Faintly is the color of annoyance. What do you mean? Yenbei City played with the teacup, and it seemed that there was a storm gathering in his eyes. He had become the underground ruler who was decisive and controlled Yujo. The princess didn't have a private talk with her brother just this morning. The position of Nanner was also promoted by her brother. In addition to the meaning of the princess, I have a chance to quickly seal Nanner as a side princess. If not, I don't know how long it will take. Yen Beiqing's eagle-like eyes coldly looked straight at the flowers on the street, and his thin lips opened and closed, but all he uttered were words of a cone heart. With the fall of Yen Beiqing's voice, Emo Shanghua's heart seems to be stabbed by something. The pain is severe, and the temperature of a pair of quiet well-like eyes gradually decreases. The Lord is so. Do you want to thank me? Thank you? Naturally, thank you very much. Yen North City Mao inside the Mo color more and more gloomy get up. The imperial concubine wants this king how to thank? Is it better to celebrate every day, or do you want to invite your brother to come and have a good talk with you? What do you mean, Yan Beiqing? Mo Shanghua's anger, burning and pain made her reason collapse temporarily. As soon as the words were over, Yan Beiqing suddenly got up and pushed her to the bed by holding the waist of the flower on the street. The distance between them was so fast that they even breathed together. However, the atmosphere was not ambiguous. On the contrary, it was the tension of some sorts. Yen Beiqing held the waist of Mo Shanghua tightly and said, "Don't the princess like to get along with her second brother very much? Do you want to meet your wish? By the way, and Lu Jing, do you want to bring them to you? As soon as I think of Mo Shanghua's avoiding him these days, even if I see him occasionally, I don't pay attention to him. It's also cold words. But I've been alone with Yen Moli for such a long time, and I often say soft words to Lu Jing. His heart is burning with bitterness and resentment. But Yen Beiqing didn't know that his words were just like pointing to their noses and calling them sluts for any woman. In particular, such words came from his husband's mouth. This word swam quickly in the heart of Mo Shanghua. Her delicate and cool cheek was covered with frost, and her voice was also cold. Well, if the Lord likes it, you can bring all the men in the palace, and I can accept them one by one. Although she was sometimes a little dull and didn't want to talk to others, she was covered with sharp thorns. Whoever provoked her, he decided not to swallow his anger. Even if he hurt himself 800, he would hurt the enemy 1,000. When Yen Beiqing heard the speech, his whole face was completely gloomy. It was as gloomy as the dark clouds when the wind and rain were about to come, and the fierce air in his eyes leaped forward. Flowers on the street. Yen Beiqing couldn't help but roar. He grabbed the slender and fragile neck of Mo Shanghua and said, "What do you want me to do?" Because he was too emotional, he even abandoned his usual disguise. Now, he has no place to vent his anger. But even so, he did not forget to restrain the action in his hands, did not dare to really force, just afraid to hurt the flowers on the street. If he was an ordinary woman, he would have been pale and flustered. But the stranger didn't even move his brow. He said coldly, "This is what you are, cloak man." The last two words, she is almost word by word, eyes in addition to full of frost, vaguely mixed with a bit stubborn. Yen North City can't help but a zheng. The Mao color is clear to extinguish, don't know exactly what is thinking. After all, it's one thing for Hua Qianlu to talk to him, and another thing for him to hear. After a long time, he lowered his head again and spat out a few words from his thin lip. "Now that you know, are you not afraid at all?" Say, holding the hand of the flower neck on the road slightly tightens a moment. "You can't kill me." Mo Shanghua's face was still the same. At the same time, he took out the dagger he was carrying with him, and one of them was on Yen Beiqing's neck. The dagger was across his neck, bringing a cold touch. However, Yen Beiqing's face changed little by little, and his eyes disappeared again. He couldn't understand what he was thinking. But the flower on the street seems to be cold and merciless at this time, but the bottom of her eyes is the same complex and difficult to distinguish, unable to see what she is thinking. For a long time, Yen Beiqing's face suddenly relaxed, and his hand holding the neck of the flower on the street also relaxed. It seemed that he was helpless, and he began to speak in a low voice like self-mockery. After all, it's the king who has been amorous. This time, the stranger was stunned. His brain was like an empty echo. He kept playing this passage in a circle. His heart, which had been thought to have erected a barrier, seemed to be broken, and there were bursts of pain. Before he had time to respond, he saw that Yen Beiqing had already reached out to brush the dagger that was lying across his neck. Because he didn't pay much attention to it, the sharp blade made a light scratch on his neck. Mo Shanghua catches a glimpse of the scratch on his neck. He jumps for a moment in his heart. Subconsciously, he sits up and wants to have a look. But his consciousness finally catches up and stops her action. He grasps the bed sheet under him between his fingers. Yen Beiqing seemed to have no sense of the bloodstains on his neck. He didn't even frown. He just raised his hand to lightly erase the bloodstains and said, "The princess must have not been raised well. Later, I will let Dr. Lu come back to have a look. You can take good care of her these days. I have nothing to do and won't disturb your peace." Then he turned and strode away. Mo Shanghua stares at his back in a dazed way. It's clear that she's so tall and straight. Somehow, Mo Shanghua sees that she's a little lost, or maybe she's lost herself. The house was completely quiet. Mo Shanghua sat on the bed for a long time. She could only hear the patter of rain outside the window, but she felt that her ears were buzzing and her heart was in a mess. No matter what, she could not calm down. Later, this night she was tossing and turning until dawn, cannot rest. When Qinya came to wait on Mo Shanghua to do her makeup, she was shocked to see that her eyes were black. "Princess, why are you so heavy now? Was the thunderstorm last night so noisy that you didn't sleep well?" After Qinya said so, Mo Shanghua just looked up at himself in the bronze mirror. She is proficient in medical theory, so her body has always been well-conditioned. Her face is ruddy and clear all the year round. Except when she was ill, when did she become so haggard? She looks 10 times worse than when she is working on medicinal materials. Seeing that she didn't speak, and seemed to have gone away, Qinya could not help but called softly, "Princess." The flowers on the street suddenly came back and said in a soft voice, "Yesterday's rain was a little big." Qinya nodded approvingly. She combed the long silky black hair of the flowers on the street and said, "It's not true. The maidservant just went to bed after a long time yesterday." In the past, the maidservant never went to bed because of this. Although she was talking about her troubles, her heart was still more happy. The corners of her lips could not help raising. But after laughing for a moment, she was distressed again. "It's a pity that my brother has not recovered. I'll feel his pulse later." "You don't have to worry too much," he said softly. Qinya reluctantly smiles, lowers her head and doesn't speak any more. She skillfully twists the long soft hair of Mo Shanghua into a bun and decorates it with a few zhuchai. Then she combs it in a simple but decent bun. Mo Shanghua raised her hand and cut a few strands of broken hair in front of her forehead. As she was about to get up, she heard the door knocked, and then there was no sound. It's not Qin Lin who can knock like this. "Come in." Mo Shanghua knew that Qin Lin was inconvenient to speak, so she opened her mouth thoughtfully and asked him to come in and reply. After a while, Qin Lin pushed the door and came in. After the ceremony, he reported in sign language that Lu Zheng was coming. He said that he wanted to ask for a safe pulse. The king ordered him to send it. Mo Shanghua wanted to refuse, but she thought of the helpless appearance of Yen Beiqing when she left yesterday. When she came to her mouth, she swallowed it and said, "Please come in." Qin Lin nodded and bowed back. After a while, Lu Zheng came in with a medicine box on his back. "Princess." Lu Zheng leaned over slightly and made a salute with his hands. "No need to be polite." Mo Shanghua turns around and raises her hand to show her exemption. Lu Zheng gets up, opens the medicine box and takes out the wrist pillow and silk handkerchief one by one. Although Mo Shanghua already knows about her physical condition, she still cooperates with her and puts her haorist on it, letting Lu Zheng feel her pulse. A moment later, Lu Zheng just closed his wrist pillow and said, "The princess's pulse is much more stable." She should have been better, but her heart is depressed. If it goes on like this, I'm afraid it's not right. I know, but it's always rainy these days, the weather is sultry, even if I'm in a good mood. But Lu Zheng saw through what she thought in her heart and said, according to the view of Wei Chen in recent days, the princess's self-injury is better in those days. Especially in these days, her mood seems to be getting worse and worse. Emo Shanghua raised her eyes and tried to suppress her depression. Dr. Lu is not only skillful in medicine, but also very good in appearance and appearance. The princess is joking. I'm sorry. Lu Zheng thought about it. Seeing that Qinya was the only one in the house, he changed his name and wanted to enlighten him as a friend. Although you look as usual, are there few rumors these days? How can I not know? After a pause, he said, besides, sometimes your eyes don't lie. Of course, sometimes, after all, it's hard to understand in the past, but in a few days, the mood will always leak out occasionally. Qinya is a little girl in the end. She can't see that she is normal. But Lu Zheng is young, but because of her identity as a doctor, she has read countless people. Naturally, she can see it clearly. He had never seen such a flower in the street. How could he not worry? The flowers in the street can't help but turn their eyes to see themselves in the bronze mirror. Although the people in the mirror are beautiful, their faces are haggard. Although the eyes are as calm as usual, there are some dark colors under the calm, which makes the whole person lose a lot of color. Looking at her haggard appearance, Lu Zheng could not help sighing. What you look like now is always unfavorable to your condition. I don't need to tell you this. You must know it very well. If you have any unhappiness, there's no one else here. It's better to say it. Only in this way can you relieve it. The flowers on the street are silent for a moment, and the lips can't help pursing slightly, as if hesitating whether to say it or not. However, after a while, she still shook her head. If I want to, I will not be depressed. Lu Zheng saw this, thought about it, and lowered his voice more gently. If you don't want to say it, you might as well go out and walk more. Now it's sunny, and crepe myrtle has gradually opened. After a pause, he said, I know that the order of banning feet is just a vain one for you. Emo Shanghua then realized what was common. She looked out through the half-open screen window and saw that the sunshine was just right outside. She couldn't help but move in her heart, but she didn't decide immediately. Seeing this, Lu Zheng puts his eyes on Qinya. Qinya Dun came over, and he was very busy. He took Emo Shanghua's arm and said, Princess, why don't you just go out and have a look? You can't feel suffocated sitting all day, but I'm going to suffocate. Emo Shanghua also has some thoughts. Now he is suffering from the headache of being shaken by Qinya. After thinking about it, he simply nods his head. Lu Zheng sees this. In the heart has been high-hanging big stone. This just fell down. The worry in the eye disperses a few minutes. So good. In this way, not only he but also that one should be relieved. Qinya is also immediately happy to smile by pull the arm of the flower, then happily began to plan where to go in the end to relax. The more he said, the more excited he was. He was supposed to go in the afternoon, but Qinya said that no one came to them now, encouraging Emo Shanghua to go early after dinner. They specially changed men's clothes for convenience and chose the most prosperous street in Yuzhou. Yuzhou's streets are much narrower than the imperial city, and there are not many hawkers and pedestrians. It is not as prosperous as half of the imperial city, but it has a unique style. Once upon a time, Emo Shanghua had never seen it well. Now with Qinya at her side, she would take her here and there for a while. Then she noticed that the style of Yuzhou was very different from that of the imperial city. Many of the things here are unique to Yuzhou, even the imperial city, which is a place where people from several countries trade frequently, and these things are also rare. Encouraged by Qinya, Emo Shanghua bought a lot of rare things and some jewelry hairpins, but he didn't let Emo Shanghua use them at home. He was happy to carry all his bags. They went to the best restaurant in Yuzhou for dinner, and then they strolled in the afternoon. After such a pleasant day, it gradually darkened. Qinya looked at the peddlers who had begun to clean up the stalls around, and fewer pedestrians. She said helplessly, Princess, it's time for us to go back. It's not easy to come out this time. How can she have enough fun? She just wants to stay outside for a while. When she heard the words from the flowers on the street, her eyes were full of nostalgia. She was in a better mood because she was not easy. When she thought of the people in the palace and the bad things, she felt a little tired. At this time, she has been working hard. She even has no time to rest. How can she think of going back to face it so soon? She really feels a little tired. This word she has not felt too fast for many years. Now it is not easy to give her a chance. Let her indulge for a while. Thinking about this, she turned her eyes around the street and saw that all the people on the street had dispersed one after another with the coming of dusk. After all, there was no royal city, but there was no night market. However, if she really wants to find a place to sing every night, she really knows something about it. Chinya, it's not long since your ears have recovered. Compared with the music you haven't heard before, has it? Emo Shanghua turns his head to look at Chinya and opens his mouth seriously. Chinya nodded very honestly. The slave girl is not from a good family background. She was dependent on her brother since childhood. Later, she worked in a rich family. Because of her ears, she never heard of it. Said, her eyes cannot help but show a bit of regret and yearning color. Seeing this, the flower on the street simply took a step forward. As she walked towards the road ahead, she said, "I'll take you to see." Chinya looked at Emo Shanghua's free and easy figure. She couldn't help but be stunned. It seemed that she couldn't react. After a long time, she caught up with her and said, "Princess, is that true?" At the moment, when she listened to the music of the orchestra, she immediately put the matter of going back to the government behind her, completely ignoring it. However, when Emo Shanghua takes Chinya to Qinghuan Pavilion, both of them are stunned and seem to be surprised by the scene in front of them. I saw that Qinghuan Pavilion, which used to be brightly lit all night and sing songs all night, was destroyed for some reason. Even the bronzing characters of Qinghuan Pavilion on the plaque were blackened by thick smoke, and there was no glorious image in the past. The gate of Qinghuan Pavilion is also closed, and a small wooden sign is hung at the gate, which simply reads, "Pause and rest." "Princess, isn't this the place of fireworks?" After a long time, Chinya slowly recovered and said, "It's still a dilapidated brothel." Emo Shanghua didn't answer Chinya's words, only she curving willow-like eyebrows, and her eyes were a little surprised. Then she quickly stepped forward, raised her hand and tapped on the closed gilded and carved wooden door. No response. Emo Shanghua thought, or raised his hand to tap again. This time, after waiting for a long time, I heard the sound of footsteps in the house. It was not long before the door was opened from inside. "Who's knocking on the door again?" "I don't know. I'll be here for a while in the near future." The young steward subconsciously said what she had done before, but before she finished a word, the face of the flower on the street was visible, and her unfinished words were cut off like a knife. "Mogu, young master, why are you here?" "I wanted to have a drink, but I just got here and saw this scene." Emo Shanghua politely nodded to the woman, and then said, "How did you become this appearance here?" "It's not convenient for me to talk to the girl in detail here. I also invite the girl to come in and talk." The woman is very polite to Emo Shanghua and opens the door to make way. Emo Shanghua sees this and doesn't refuse. She turns her eyes and looks at Chinya. She just walks in. Seeing this, Chinya quickly follows in. The woman closed the door again, dropped the lock, and then led the flowers to the elegant room on the 3rd floor. She ordered people to bring tea and snacks. Just now she said, "I'll invite you to come here. Please wait here." "Wait a minute." Seeing that the woman was considerate everywhere, and obviously avoided others, she was different from her alone. She could not help asking, "Are these all ordered by your son?" If not, she can't imagine why a director of Qinghuan Pavilion, who is so powerful, takes care of herself so politely. That woman's slightly smile, the whole body bearing more elegant chic up. "Yes, the child once ordered, if you come in the future, no matter when, must be to serve as guest of honor, and immediately invite him to come." "Thank you very much." The flowers on the street nodded their thanks, but they were surprised. When did her friendship with Hua Qianlu come to such a stage? When the woman saw that she had no problem, she bowed her head gracefully and stepped back. After a few steps, she got up and left again. Seeing that there was no one else in the house, Qinya couldn't help looking around curiously and said to herself, I didn't expect that the outside of the building had been burned like that. The inside of the house was totally different. Sure enough, the thin camel was bigger than the horse. After a pause, she fixed her eyes on Emo Shanghua again and said, Listen to what the elder sister just said, is that the princess has some old friendship with their child, so we get this treatment? Emo Shanghua nodded, thought about it, and said, The child she said is the child you saw before in Wujuan. It's the playboy. After Emo Shanghua mentioned this, Qinya just vaguely thought of it, and could not help praising it. Young Master Hua is really nice. He used to help you like that. Now when he is not here, he will let others take care of you. It's not like the little guy around the Lord. He is used to bullying you. A word just fell, then listen to the man's deep laughter outside the door, and then see flowers and willows shaking splash ink painting folding fan, languid pace came in. The girl really has a good eye, but I don't like it very much. With a habitual smile on his lips, he felt friendly and close to others. Although all the girls here are beautiful and versatile, none of them is better than those in Beijing. When Qinya heard the reply from such a romantic person, her white cheeks suddenly turned red and she simply bit her lips and did not dare to speak. On the contrary, she just took the teapot on the table and poured a cup of tea. Seeing him coming in, she conveniently placed the teapot on the empty seat opposite her. Your mind is really good. The huge Qinghuan pavilion has been burned like this, and you can still laugh. Have fun in time. The willows of flowers are smiling and singing. They pick up the tea cup pushed by the flowers on the street and smell it on their lips. They can't help but praise, the tea made by the flowers on the street is really sweet. Say, very enjoy of squint and eye shallow drink. Emo Shanghua is used to the appearance of Hua Qianlu, but he doesn't say much. He just lowers his head and pours a cup of tea for himself. He takes a sip of it and says, I remember that Yu Qinghuan Pavilion was busy a few days ago. What did you experience these days? How did you become this appearance? Yan Beicheng shrugged his shoulders and looked like he didn't care much. What else can there be? It's just that the people I usually offend come to me and hurt me. But the loss is not small. This is a perfunctory remark, but if you listen carefully, there is some truth. Otherwise, you can't be set on fire without any reason. Seeing him, he didn't want to say it. After thinking about it, Emo Shanghua didn't ask any questions. He said, Then you should find out this person well and ask him for all the money you lost these days. Otherwise, how can you get back the money? It's natural. At this point, Flower Willow lips smile slightly convergence, eyes slightly narrowed, eyes inside the hair, is a stranger flower never seen dangerous color. Seeing the flowers on the street, I can't help sighing. The flower willow is always harmless to human beings and animals, but it is the well-known lord of Qinghuan Pavilion. How can he be as good as his heart? However, you haven't been here for a while. You're not the only one who doesn't come, but also the North City. I'm really lonely and cold. See, the flowers on the street do not speak. Flower willows do not feel that the opening of a smile. The flower on the street seems to think of something. There is a dark color in her eyes. There are many things in the house recently, and I can't move the time. Flower Thousand Willow is a meaningful smile, meaning unknown mouth. I've forgotten, you this palace recently but came to a big Buddha, can't serve is also a matter of reason. After a pause, he quickly closed the folding fan and habitually touched his forehead with the fan. Oh, I forgot. Brother Beicheng didn't always come to drink with me like you. To drink with you? Emo Shanghua asked subconsciously, and her eyes didn't understand. As far as she knows, it seems that there is no news in the house that Yan Beicheng has come to drink flower wine again. Is it possible that he came quietly? Hua Qianlu nodded, not knowing whether it was intentional or unintentional. You don't know, the North City drank a lot yesterday. I almost let him drink out of the wine cellar. I still had a rest here that night. The radiance of the flower's lips on the street was gradually smoothed out. After a long silence, he said, "Why did he drink so much wine with you?" "I don't know exactly." Hua Qianlu put the folding fan in his palm and tapped it rhythmically, "But I don't know what I should do with you or what I'm wrong with. I don't understand it very well." The full and ruddy lips of the flowers on the street are slightly pursed, the palm is slightly tightened, and the fingers touch the palm lightly. For a long time, she took a little breath and looked up at the flowers. "If I want to say something, I might as well say it directly." After a pause, she looked at Qinya behind her. "Qinya, you go out first." Seeing this, Hua Qianlu chuckles and gently points her side with a fan. The woman who has just been entertaining flowers in a stranger says, "Go and take Miss Qinya to the next room." As for the following words, needless to say, if the woman takes Qinya, she will surely treat her with tea and snacks. In short, she won't be ungrateful. The woman took the life, did not dislike the identity of Qinya's maid, still treated as before, led Qinya down. When the house was quiet, Hua Qianlu was not in a hurry to say it. Instead, he poured a cup of tea and drank it. Fong leisurely said, "I have never done anything like a peacemaker, but today, I have to do it last time." Seems to see the Mo Shanghua is also so stuffy temperament. Without waiting for her to open her mouth, Hua Qianlu said to herself, "You spent a few days ago in order to cure the imperial city and hurt your body. You only know that you are sad, and you know what the North City is doing that day." The flower eyebrows on the street frowned slightly, and an idea came out of his heart. That day, of course, it couldn't be so simple. The one in the imperial city played a big game of chess and put me and Brother Beiqing together. That day, Brother Beiqing seemed to be at the South Crane, but in fact he was going to solve the trouble left by the boy. His whereabouts were uncertain, and others could not contact him easily. The flower on the street was slightly stunned for a moment, and her eyes involuntarily crossed a bit of complicated color. She pursed her lips and didn't speak. Hua Qianlu saw this, and his look in his eyes was a little deeper. It seemed that his mood had changed, but it didn't take a moment to recover as usual. "As for what happened after that, I think you should change someone to understand. After all, I'm not on the spot. What I know is limited." "Yes, I know." The flowers on the street gathered their eyes, and the eyes covered by the long eyelashes were very complicated. After sitting down for a while, she raised her eyes and said, "What's the relationship between Nanha and him?" This problem has been pressing in her heart for a long time. Now that Hua Qinliu's words have been mentioned in this way, she will not be restrained, so as not to miss today. On her day, she will become the same person in the past, so that this matter cannot be explained, which makes her feel strange. When Hua Qianlu heard the words, he burst out with a smile, and his face was full of narrow color. "It's a pity that Xiaomo Hua is jealous of Brother Beiqing. It's so lovely that he can't hear it with his own ears." She said so. The original dull atmosphere was eased a little. The heart of Mo Shanghua was not as heavy as just now, but it didn't get better immediately, just waiting for the answer of Hua Qianlu quietly, and touching the fingertips of palm didn't release half a minute. "I can't tell you that." Seeing the appearance of Mo Shanghua's expectation, Hua Qianlu deliberately sold the lawsuit. "If you want to know, you can point to Brother Beiqing's nose and question him. He is so afraid that he will tell you clearly." Say, oneself also can't help laughing but still want to carry elegant posture, shake folding fan. The flowers on the street can't smile at all. After Hua Qianlu said so, her heart is more chaotic than before, and the questions in her heart keep popping up one by one. "I shouldn't go back too late, otherwise it will cause a lot of trouble and I won't stay long, so I'll go back. I can't help but feel anxious." Mo Shanghua can't help but stand up and get ready to go back to the mansion. Hua Qinliu's smile didn't decrease, and he didn't leave more flowers in his street. He just raised his voice and called, "Come on, take Miss Qinya," and she said her master is going back. He can guess what is the mood of Mo Shanghua now. If he stops him, I'm afraid I don't need Mo Shanghua. Only Yan Beiqing will be able to split him. Soon after Hua Qinliu's words, someone answered outside the door. Not long after that, Qinya came back with the maid. Emo Shanghua is now eager to return home, but he didn't tell Qin Yadua. He only told her that he wanted to go back earlier, so he took her back to his house. Hua Qianlu looks at the empty position on the opposite side and the half cup of tea left by the flower in the street. The smile on her lips gradually fades down, and the mood just flashed up at this time. He volunteered to be the peacemaker. How could he be a little unhappy now? It seemed that he had personally sent the woman to another man. Thinking of this, his eyes suddenly became gloomy and dark. Aware of this, he quickly cut off his thoughts, and no longer wanted to think deeply. It's a lot of things. It's really a lot of things. At the corner of his lips, he lifted a seemingly specious smile, took up the tea and drank it as if it was not tea but good liquor. When they came back to the palace, it was almost the end of the day. Many places in the palace had been locked. However, Mozhang Hua seemed to forget it. He told Qin Lin, go to see Dr. Lu. Then he said, I'm not feeling well. Ask him to come as soon as possible. Qin Lin was stunned and turned his eyes to Qinya. Seeing this, Qinya was also in a bit of a dilemma. She couldn't help reminding her, Princess, it's time now. You can't leave any foreign men in the mansion. Imperial Dr. Lu has already returned to the mansion. Emo Shanghua almost blurts out and asks Qin Lin to take her token to go out and ask Lu Yui. Fong wants to get out of her throat, and she swallows it again. She just after knowing reaction come over, busy will be in the heart of the state of mind again. I'm just impatient. You all go back. I think I need a good rest. Although she was pressed down for a while, she was still a little irritable in her heart. Qin Yabin wanted to retreat, but Qin Lin didn't mean to. He took out a piece of paper from his sleeve, presented it to him, and said in sign language, Princess, the letter you gave me yesterday has passed quietly. This is the reply I received this morning. This matter is extraordinary. Emo Shanghua also did not refuse the letter received. I know, you also go to have a rest. Qin Lin and Qinya retired according to their words. Emo Shanghua put up her agitation, opened the folded letter, and saw the same succinct writing of no action on it. The handwriting is vigorous and powerful, which shows that the writer has strong internal power. Emo Shanghua saw only feel that his injury now is a good recovery. In her mind now only she and Yan Beiqing have been calculated by this person. If she doesn't prepare a thank you gift for him, then I'm really sorry for him. The next day, Emo Shanghua asked Qin Lin to go to the gate of the mansion early to pay attention to the position. As soon as he saw Lu Zheng entering the mansion, he didn't even let him go to the medicine hall in the mansion, so he invited him directly to the courtyard. Until he saw the flowers on the street, Lu Zheng was still in an unknown state. The princess asked Qin Lin to wait for Wei Chen at the door of the mansion in the early morning. I don't know what's the emergency? After a pause, he seemed to think of something and his face was tight. Is it because your injury is unstable and suddenly attacks? Emo Shanghua shook her head, pondered for a long time, and then said, I just want to know when the Lord came to see me when I was in a coma that day. Lu Jing didn't know that Emo Shanghua had already known that Yan Beiqing was a cloaker, so he concealed it even though he didn't want to. The princess didn't see it too. The prince came here only after you were sober. How could you suddenly think of it? The flower on the street doesn't believe it. From Lu Zheng's eyes, she can see that what he said is not true. But that's not what she wants to know. Thinking of this, she was very serious and said, Dr. Lu, although we don't have any feelings, this matter is really important to me now. I have to have the cheek to ask you, can you tell me the truth? Her black and white and clear eyes, staring at him like this, made his heart soften. Those words that had been used thousands of times in his heart could not be uttered. After pondering for a long time, his eyes twinkled slightly, and he simply changed the story of that day. Since you want to know, I will not hide it from you. In fact, that day, the Lord came to see you and kept you for a long time. For a moment, the flower on the street only felt that the string that had been pulled out for a long time and squeezed together with the others suddenly came back. The burden of the heart suddenly lightened a lot, and the melancholy spirit of the chest completely smoothed down. But in addition, her eyes are hard to cover across a complex color. On the one hand, he knew that he had misunderstood Yan Beiqing's guilt, and on the other hand, he knew that Yan Beiqing had been very kind to him. She couldn't tell what kind of emotion it was. She felt warm in her heart, but somehow she resisted it from her heart, as if it was like a virus, which made her want to expel it quickly. Princess, princess? Lu Zheng called the flower on the street, but she didn't respond. She could not help but reach out and shake it in front of her. Mo Shanghua, this just returned to God, quite apologetic, looked to Lu Zheng. Sorry, I just temporarily left God. No harm. Lu Zheng smiles slightly. His eyes are gentle, but his eyes are a bit complicated. The princess's mental state is not very good recently. It seems that she is more easily absorbed than before. You will never be like this before. After Lu Zheng said so, Mo Shanghua realized later that he was in general, his eyes were tiny, and he flashed a little. Maybe there are many things recently and he didn't have a good rest. Lu Zheng's eyes were fixed on the flowers on the street, and he said, I once said that sometimes the eyes of a princess can't deceive people. It used to be because of Yanbei City, but now it is. The flower's eyes on the street were just about to say something, but he saw that Lu Zheng had already stood up and bowed slightly to salute. I'll go to ask Mrs. Xue for a pulse later and leave first. Said, then directly carried the medicine box to retreat. Mo Shanghua stares at Lu Zheng's leaving direction for a moment, and then just sits back. The look inside the eyes is complicated again. What is the meaning of Lu Zhenglin's saying? Is it hard to remind her that she has changed her temper because of Yanbei City? But how could she do that because of Yan Beiqing? Is she's in love with him? It is inevitable that this idea appears in the flower heart of the stranger, but it is quite different from the girl's behavior. If the girl next to her is sure of her own thoughts, she is either extremely shy, or ecstatic, or stunned. At this time, her heart is inexplicably confused. In her previous life, although she had never been in touch with love and had never seen any married drama, she didn't understand this kind of emotion, but she clearly understood that if she liked someone, that person would be her weakness. If you don't strike, it's fatal. In this way, how could she not panic? After all, she still has a lot of risky things to do. How terrible it is to have such a weakness. So think, Mo Shanghua is headache incomparable, she is really don't know, now has moved the feeling of her, such as the face of such a weakness, and what to plan. Forget it, Yan Beiqing won't come to see her again these days. It's better to take advantage of this time and do something else to avoid wasting time. Mo Shanghua's heart at the moment is broken. Then he thinks of Qin Lin, who took the medicine with Qinya at the same time, but has not improved so far. He says, Qinya, go and call your brother. Yes. Qinya nodded, then turned around and went out. After a while, she brought Qin Lin in. Qin Lin, come here. The flower in the street saw that Qin Lin was standing in the same place, waiting for orders. She didn't bother to explain more and spoke directly. Qin Lin nodded, and then went to the flower in front of him. Mo Shanghua saw this and took the wrist pillow from one side, indicating that he would put his wrist on it. Qin Lin didn't want to, so he put his obedient hands on it. But when he saw that Mo Shanghua's hand was following him, and he wanted to put it on his wrist, he immediately withdrew his hand. This just reflects to come over to spend to want to do of Qin Lin, quickly start to keep waving hand to shake head to refuse, with whole body in express to refuse. Seeing Qin Lin's appearance, Qinya immediately came over and explained, Princess, my brother is afraid of polluting your hands. Mo Shanghua came over and simply straightened her face and looked at Qin Lin with solemn eyes. This is an order. You must follow it. Seeing this, Qinya quickly whispered, Brother, you can't listen to the order of the princess. You'd better accept it quickly. Qin Lin still hesitated, but seeing that the stranger's face was so grim, he could not resist, so he was very coy and released his hand. Mo Shanghua wanted to feel his pulse directly. Seeing that he was so coy at the moment, he took a handkerchief to cover his wrist, and then put up his plain hand. According to the pulse, we should not. For a moment, my brow is tiny. I can't help but frown a little and whisper to myself. Qinya and Qinlin's face in the audience is not clear. After a while, Mo Shanghua took back her hand and said, Qinlin, open your mouth, and then try to follow my movements to pronounce. Qinlin nodded his head, then saw Mo Shanghua slowly open his mouth, and his mouth issued the syllable ah. Seeing this, Qinlin opened his mouth slowly, and his throat gave out a hoarse and broken syllable similar to. Although he tried to learn how to make a sound, the word was just a figure, which was not accurate. Such a broken sound, which he would occasionally make, was not so surprising. Mo Shanghua patiently waited for Qinlin to make this sound, and her mouth continued to close slowly, saying the word I very slowly. Qinlin also slowly closed her mouth with difficulty. She thought that she would utter words that could not be regarded as language just now, but she did not expect that she had tried many times in the guide of Mo Shanghua, and she succeeded in uttering a vague I in a hoarse voice. In the past, it was impossible. Qin Yadun's eyes were wide open, and he was surprised and happy. Big brother, you? Qin Lin himself was stunned. His face was at a loss. He couldn't react for a long time. Princess, what's the matter, brother? Is that okay? Qinya tried to restrain her excitement and turned to ask. She was surprised, but she couldn't hide the tension. She was afraid that it was just an accident. Under the close gaze of the two people, Mo Shanghua's delicate jaw gently said, from the pulse and the performance of Qin Lin just now, he can really speak, and this medicine should have worked a few days ago, not later than you. Qin Lin's whole body froze, but the eyes of such a strong man were gradually moist, and his face was full of excitement. Qin Lin was equally excited and ecstatic, as if she was the one who was cured. He grabbed Qin Lin's arm and said excitedly, brother, you can speak. Will you laugh at me for this again? With that, tears ran down her white cheeks. Qin Lin busily wiped away the tears on her cheek with the palm of her hand. He opened his mouth to comfort her with words. After a long time, he just vomited a vague word, I. Seeing this, Qinya couldn't help but wonder. She quickly held back her tears and looked at the flowers on the street, sobbing, Princess, what's the matter? Don't you say that my brother is ready to speak? Why is that still the case today? As she spoke, her white and tender hands could not help holding Qin Lin's sleeve tightly, for fear that the answer would be too worrying. Qin Lin was naturally flustered, but seeing that his family was nervous, he habitually put on the appearance of elder brother and tried to keep calm. Seeing that they were so nervous, Mo Shanghua couldn't help smiling. You don't have to be so nervous. Just now, Qin Lin has been aphasia, because he hasn't spoken for a long time. It's also the reason why he hasn't been able to write for a long time. In the future, we just need to teach him word by word. After a pause, she said, it's also my own problem these days. I haven't had time to give Qin Lin a diagnosis and treatment, so it's not a big mistake now. Qinya, you and Qin Lin are brothers and sisters, and they are often together. Come to teach Qin Lin to speak well in the future. Qin Lin was greatly relieved, and then grinned very simple and honest. Qinya was already overjoyed when she heard the words of Mo Shanghua. She even stopped her tears. Now she got the words of Mo Shanghua, and she couldn't hide her smile. Yes, I know. The princess doesn't have to blame herself too much. How depressed you are these days, I see it in my eyes. Mo Flower slightly nodded, eyes colored Qingming. Rest assured, I will not be so. Then she saw that Qin Lin and Qinya were in a good mood at the moment, and added, you two are so happy. I'm outstanding. You can take a break for 2 days and come back to serve in 2 days. Qinya, you must have not played enough before you went out of the house. I'll give you my waist tag. You can go out with Qin Lin as much as possible. Qin Lin and Qinya both looked at each other and saw a similar smile. They knelt down and bowed down to salute. Thank you for your kindness. Don't be polite. Get up. Mo Shanghua came forward to help them, and then took out the waist tag and put it into Qinya's hand. You go. Qinya took the waist token, couldn't help blinking at the flowers on the street, and said with a smile, the maidservant is not here these 2 days, the concubine should not always think about it. If I'm here every day, I'm afraid my ears are not clean. With a smile in his eyes and eyebrows, he made fun of Chinya. Chinya's ruddy lips pouted out and said angrily, "The princess is so disgusted with the maid. The maid will shut her mouth in front of the princess in the future to see if you are suffocating." Sharp teeth and sharp mouth. Emo Shanghua raised her hand and lightly touched Chinya's forehead. "If you talk back again, you will be punished for your monthly salary." Hearing this, Chinya immediately begged for mercy. "Good princess, I don't want to say it. You can never deduct my monthly money." Qin Lin couldn't put in any words, so he just looked at it quietly, with a smile on his lips. He was in a good mood. The whole room is a rare laughter. Even the air seems to be infected with a cheerful atmosphere. The next day after Qin Lin and Chinya were allowed to have a rest, they disappeared early in the morning. They must have gone out to play somewhere. Emo Shanghua thought that for such a rare 2-day leisure, they didn't let anyone know where they were going. He simply let them go to play. However, she didn't have Chinya to wait on her for a while, but she didn't get used to it for a while. After calling no one, she subconsciously wanted to go to Chinya's room to see why she didn't get up. Recently, it's getting more and more pretentious. In the middle of the line, the flower in the street stopped and began to speak in a low voice. In her previous life, she has always been alone, and her emotions are not as rich as they are now. Now, in her own words, she is more than twice as sentimental. Shaking his head, Emo Shanghua just turned back to the bedroom, just went in, and saw a maid looking around in the room, as if looking for something. "What are you doing?" Emo Shanghua's face coagulated and stepped in. "Happy princess." Hearing this, the maid turned around. She was a maid who was in charge of sweeping. She is also smart. See the flower face slightly coagulation, afraid she misunderstood, hurriedly explained, "Sister Chinya is not here today. Maidservant is ordered by Sister Chinya to be on duty outside. Just came in and asked no one to answer. This is to explore everywhere." The eyes of the flower in the street were silent like a well for a moment. Seeing her face as usual, she nodded. "Tell me, what's the matter?" "If you go back to the princess, it's Mrs. Nan who wants to see you. Now she's waiting in the hall." At this juncture, what happened to Nanha? If no one mentioned it, she almost forgot that the relationship between Nanha and Yan Beiqing is still unclear. If she had to ask Yan Beiqing herself, she was afraid that she would not be able to say anything. But if she didn't ask, she would have a feeling that she couldn't explain clearly. She didn't want to see Nanha originally. After all, her ears are just clear now. But at this time, she suddenly changed her mind. "You go back and I'll be there later." "Yes." "See the princess." The south crane sees the flower on the road. This just not anxious, not slowing rises to worship. No gift. Emo Shanghua stepped up to the top of the throne and sat down. Then she turned her eyes to look at the south crane. At this time, the south crane was still pale and sick. It was almost summer, and he was still wearing a thick brocade cloak. He looked very weak and pitted. Emo Shanghua habitually carried the celadone-painted gold teacup in his hand, but the light of his eyes fell on Nan He. "Look at your face. It seems that the disease is not all right." South Crane slightly nodded, lips with a touch of light soft one smile. "Thank you for your concern. These days have been accompanied by the prince. The prince is gentle and affectionate. The maid concubine is more considerate, now already much better. The flowers on the street are as quiet as the valley. The color of the eyes is a little deeper, and the lips are slightly indisputable." The air stagnated for a moment. Then he was surprised to think that he had said something wrong, so he got up and knelt down with a low brow. "I'm guilty. I said something wrong for a while, which made the princess unhappy. I hope the princess will forgive me." Emo Shanghua didn't open her mouth immediately. Instead, she played with the teacup in her hand for a long time and then said, "When did I say I was unhappy? It's really hard for you to be so understanding. You can see what you have at a glance. No wonder the Lord has to accompany you all the time." That said, there was no intention of getting her up. Nanji was not flustered at all. She lowered her eyebrows and gathered her eyes. She knelt quietly in front of the flowers on the street. The words of the princess are blaming the maidservant and concubine. After a pause, without waiting for the flowers to bloom, she continued, "Now that all the words have come to this place, the maidservant and concubine will simply make it clear. My concubine's trip was originally an apology to the princess." The cut willow eyebrows of the flowers on the street were slightly raised, with a smile on their face. "I don't know which one you're talking about. Has Nanha done little these days? It's so puzzling today. It seems that we need to explore the reason. Now, let's listen to what she sings first." The South Crane hears speech, not vexed, also not flustered. The warm voice, soft language also does not lose dignified, slowly to open mouth. The maidservant concubine knows, the princess these days' mood is not good, mostly because the prince accompanies in the maidservant concubine day by day, seldom comes to see the princess, causes the princess to miss the prince in the illness, but always cannot see, has harmed so many days. Gas. All these are maidservant concubines not. The flower on the street opens the lid of the golden teacup and gently blows away the floating tea foam on the tea. It looks like it doesn't care much. Although the surface is like this, actually in her heart already sneer repeatedly. This South Crane surface says of so good to listen to, difficult isn't to intentionally come to show off wrong pet with her? Seeing that the flower on the street didn't speak, and the corners of his lips were tiny and indisputable, then he quickly gathered them back. "But I've known the Lord for several years. Before I entered the palace, I knew that the Lord was affectionate and gentle. You don't want to see that he has been so kind to me these days. In fact, I don't care too much about our love for many years." Speaking of this, she suddenly changed her tone, quite serious and sincere. "I can see that you are in the heart of the Lord, but I heard that you had a quarrel a few days ago. The Lord loves face and naturally refuses to bow down. If you are willing to admit your mistake to the Lord will treat you as usual." Emo Shahwa's hand holding the tea was slightly stunned, and his eyes were a little chilly. "So, the purpose of your coming here today is to show off your supreme honor or to persuade me and the Lord?" Before the South Crane opened his mouth, the flower on the street said coldly, "In my opinion, you are more like the former." The South Crane body immediately lowered to go down. The brow of low hang down has no half-cent change. Actually, maidservant concubine is not this meaning, the princess misunderstood. Emo Shanghua puts the tea cup on the table. The tea cup collides with the table and makes a slightly dull sound. The tea splashes on the inner wall of the teacup. "In that case, why do you sit with a prince every day? The right one has known the prince for many years." "Nanji? Oh no, you are now a side princess." "I should call you a side princess." "Then, Nanbian princess, you should talk about it now. Do you mean to humiliate my princess with such words?" The South Crane's eyes passed a happy look at the success of the scheme, but his face was in a state of panic. "The princess forgives me, but I have no such intention." After a pause, when Emo Shanghua was about to open her mouth again, she suddenly said, "I only want to make amends because I got the hint from the prince. If the princess doesn't believe me, she can ask the prince in person." Emo Shanghua stood up and looked up at the South Crane kneeling on his head. Her red lips opened gently. "You're not only guessing the intention of the Lord without permission, but also coming here with your own ideas. It's time to end on your own. However, even if you want to end well at the moment, the princess has no time to act with you. If you want to kneel, you can kneel. I don't want to accompany you." Finish saying, Mao Guang moves away from South Crane body, don't look at her one eye, then straight over her, left here. From the moment she stood up, the whole person seemed to put on the dragon robe that only the emperor could wear, and looked down at the people with an absolutely high attitude. Nanha was at her feet, as if he was humble as a small mole ant, which could not be compared with her at all. Although she didn't want to admit it, Nanha had to say that she was just like a mole ant, which made her strong self-esteem thump again. She held her fingers tightly, and her slender nails almost pierced the tender flesh of her palm. However, at the thought of the jealousy in Emo Shanghua's eyes, she could not help but gently raise her lips, and her anger was quickly dispersed. Emo Shanghua, no matter you guess it or not, Her goal of Nanha today has been successfully achieved. She had already figured it out, even if Emo Shanghua guessed that her purpose today was to deliberately destroy her feelings with Yan Beiqing, but what about that? She knows emotion best. Even if it is clear that other people are deliberately sabotaging, as long as they hear about the beloved man and other women, their hearts will be uncontrollable jealousy. Emo Shanghua is also a woman, which is no exception. The most important thing is that as early as before, she had planted a seed about her relationship with Yan Beiqing in Mo Shanghua. After a long time, it will naturally take root and sprout and become more and more lush. As for whether she will know the truth from Yan Beiqing, she is not worried. She knows him. How can he break his important chess because of a woman, and then break more plans in the future? Now, she just has to wait for the day when Emo Shanghua continues to quarrel with Yan Beiqing because of her jealousy. At that time, it's time to let her handle it. Thinking of the days after the flowers on the street were rejected by Yan Beiqing, she felt much more comfortable. Sighed Imperial Concubine, "How do you kneel here?" Just as he was thinking about it, one of the maidservants who was assigned to serve Nan, he came in with a wooden box in her arms. No harm, just a few admonitions from the princess. Nan he shook his head, but he got up immediately. When the maid came, she was supporting her. When she got up, she deliberately pressed most of her weight on her maidservant, making a state of kneeling knee damage for a long time. Sighed Imperial Concubine. Even so, the maid easily lifted her up, symbolically worried. "I'm fine. Let's go back." Nanhe nibbles his lip and walks out of the hall with the help of his maid. Yes. When the maid saw this, she was naturally hard to say anything. However, when he thought of the things in the wooden box, he couldn't help saying more. "Princess, what about the dong yijiao in the box? It's the best yijiao. You're not willing to use it. Do you want to give it now?" She just came here now because she forgot to bring it when she came out. She was sent back by Nanha. She came later and missed everything. "Don't bother the princess. Let's go back." Nanha glanced at the wooden box. After careful consideration, he just said so. They left one after another. It has to be said that Nanha's method is indeed the most effective and the most lethal. How does Emo Shanghua tell herself again and again in her heart that she can't believe it, but she still fantasizes about the past and present of hundreds of Yanbei City and Nanha in her mind, which makes her feel depressed and painful. The seed that Nanha had planted earlier really grew slowly in her heart. The branch of the tree almost pierced her heart and pierced countless blood holes, overflowing with a little pain. The real relationship between Nanha and Yan Beiqing had to be brought to the stage by her. It was like a tangled thread winding around her heart, which made her feel a bit depressed besides pain. Emo Shanghua irritably pushed down a writing case filled with writing brush. The writing brush suddenly scattered all over the table and fell into the inkstone. Several writing brushes dipped in ink rolled on the table and stained the writing case with a lot of ink. Emo Shanghua stares at the dots of ink on the dark red sandalwood tabletop, only to feel that the whole person is stunned. After a while, she comes back to her senses and can't help fretting and grabbing the neat bun. She had just lost her sense of propriety. She was so unlike herself that she could never let herself go on like this. So thinking, Emo Shanghua does not close his eyes and tries to drive Yan Beiqing's figure out of his mind. However, the more Yan Beiqing's figure was following her, no matter what. No, she can't. She has to find something for herself. Emo Shanghua thinks of Yunji in the wing room and suddenly realizes that it's a good way to forget other things. Without even clearing up the bookcase, she directly finds her own medicine bag and covers her veil, so that Yunji won't see that she is stimulated. So she goes to the wing room. At this time, Yunji's chest injury has been healed. Her face, which had been emaciated because she had been sent to a place similar to the cold palace, now has some meat, and has recovered her old health and mellow. The maid who is in charge of taking care of Yunji sees that the flowers are coming, so she goes forward actively. "Princess, this is the record of Mrs. Yun's daily food, drink, and residence for half a month, as well as the medication record." The maid was selected by Qinya, and she did things carefully. Qinya told her that she did things carefully. Every page was very neat and detailed. The key points to write down were half lost, and the superfluous things she didn't need to remember were not mentioned at all. Mo Shanghua nodded slightly, took the notebook handed over by the maid, looked at it carefully, and said, "Not bad. Thank you, princess." The maid did not lift her head when she saw the flower on the street. She looked very serious. The one with eyes didn't say much. She just bowed herself and gave a salute. She quietly stepped aside and waited for the flower's orders at any time. Mo Shanghua continued to look at the pamphlet in his hand, and his heart was slowly settled. When she settled down, she read the booklet much faster. After a while, she closed the booklet, turned her eyes and looked at the maid. "According to the book, Yunji is sleeping now? Before you come here, I have seen it. Madame Yun is asleep now." Here Mo Shanghua asked, "Have been waiting for the maid as far as possible." Next to this just came forward, obedient mouth. "I'll go in and have a look. You have a good record of this book, and you can continue to do so in the future." Mo Shanghua gives the booklet back to Qinya, puts on the veil, and enters the bedroom with a bead curtain. At that time, Yunji was lying on the bed with her eyes closed. She was breathing long, and obviously she was very well asleep. Nevertheless, Yunji wakes up in the middle of the journey, and Mo Shanghua seals her sleeping hole first to ensure that she won't wake up. Then, Mo Shanghua leans down to lift the thin quilt on Yunji's body, revealing her whole upper body, and then continues to untie the middle garment buckle neatly, revealing the inner garment close to her body. The inner garment is very small, which can only cover the chest and abdomen. As for the position of the left chest and heart, it is inevitable to show. Now the bandage has been removed from Yunji's left chest wound, and the view inside the house is excellent. The flowers on the street can clearly see that the original ferocious knife wound has been healed for most of the time, leaving only the broken scars. Seeing that the wound is so good, she decides a lot. She takes out the plaster and spreads it on Yunji's wound. Then she rearranges her clothes. At present, the injury is better than half, and she won't crack the wound because of the emotional collapse during the treatment. Next, she will also seize the time to treat Yunji's madness. Thinking of this, she simply sat down at the edge of the bed, took Yunji's wrist out of the clinic, confirmed it again, and saw that the injury was really stable, so she began to prepare to wake her up. Just as she was about to solve her sleeping hole, she heard a voice of annoyance from outside the sand window in the quiet room. It was so loud that she tried to pretend that she could not hear it. Besides, it seemed that it was Qinya. At this time, how could Qinya come back in a huff? What happened? Thinking about this, Mo Shanghua didn't think about it for the time being, so he put Yunji's wrist back and got up and went out. When she got out of the wing room, she saw that Qinya was sitting in the corridor, holding her face in both hands. She was very angry and cursed from time to time. These snobbish people are used to being at the helm of the wind. The princess is not out of favor now. They dare to be like this. Qin Lin's nature is simple and honest, and he is a cucurbitary. But he has always loved Qinya. If he had been comforted by Qinya, he didn't say a word now, and his face is not very good. It can be seen that he is also angry. Mo Shanghua sees this, in the heart about also understand a few minutes, lift a step then stride to go, is who, see again is what wind, what rudder? Qinya has always been a straightforward character. When she saw the flowers coming from a stranger, she couldn't help but say, "It's not the things in the house that look down on people." Seeing this, Qin Lin quickly put his hand over Qinya's mouth and said in sign language, "Princess, it's useless for us. You are useful and useless. The important thing is, how can I be bullied easily by others when I am a stranger to flowers?" The flowers on the street suddenly became cold, and the temperature of the whole body dropped suddenly. "Qin Lin, although you let Qinya say, I want to see who bullied my people." Qin Lin felt a shock all over his body, and was moved by the words of Mo Shanghua. Unconsciously, he released his hand to cover Qinya's mouth. As soon as Qinya got rid of it, she stood up quickly and said angrily, "Well, my brother and I have been walking around the house. I wanted to go to the house to listen to the music you said last time, but when I got to the door I got the waist tag, but the bodyguard refused to let the maid and brother go out. At this point, she swallowed and exchanged her breath. She was about to continue to say that Qin Lin had let her say, but when Qinya said that, he could not help but raise his hand to stop her. But Qinya always has a quick tongue. Before he had time, he saw Qinya's mouth bulging. He continued angrily, "What else do they say? You are still forbidden. As people in your house, your maidservant and elder brother will naturally follow you. You can't step out of the palace, even if you have a waist tag." At this point, her mouth Emil, faltering for a long time, but still bite the lip, did not continue to say. Mo Shanghua knows Qinya's character best. When she looks like this, she knows that she must have something to say. She calmly says, "Go on." Qin Lin and Qinya have been with Mo Shanghua for a long time. Naturally, they know her personality. Seeing that her face is so calm, they know that she is angry now, and her words can't be disobeyed. Qinya hesitated for a moment for fear that she would not say that the flower meeting on the street would be even more irritated. She said, "When I came back, I heard a lot of girls talking about it, saying that Madame Nan has been granted the side imperial concubine now, and you are out of favor with the prince. I'm afraid you will be replaced soon." The more she talked about the back, the smaller her voice was. Her eyes were always looking up at the flower's face. I was afraid that she was angry. There was a dead silence in the air. Qinya was so annoyed that she couldn't help looking up at her brother helplessly and remorsefully. However, Qin Lin at that time didn't know how to persuade him. She scratched her head and looked upset. When both of them were very upset, they saw the silent flowers on the street for a long time. The corners of their lips suddenly moved slightly and set off a little cold radiance. There was a full color of ice between their eyes and eyebrows. Good. Qin Lin's heart is a move, some nervous looking at the flowers on the street, just afraid that she will directly change face next second. However, after waiting for a long time, the face of the flower on the street is still calm as before, only the whole body is suddenly cold. It's as cold as a hole in the ice in the cold winter. She directly took out the princess's private seal that only the princess was qualified to use, and sent it to Qinya. "You take this thing directly, and tell them that no matter what the future may be, now most of the power of the palace is still in the hands of the princess, and the ban is only limited to my not leaving the courtyard. As for the people in the courtyard, they can go in and out at will." After a pause, she said, "If they still refuse to release people, you will directly change their posts and drive them out of the government. Seeing the private seal is like seeing the princess being killed by me. If they really don't pay attention to me, there's no need to stay in the palace." Qinya held the private seal in her hand. Seeing that it was only 2 thumbs in thickness, she felt as if she had weighed 1,000 pounds. She said hurriedly, "Princess, this can't be used. This private seal is so important. If it's damaged." Seeing this, Qin Lin quickly and carefully took it back from Qinya's heart and presented it to Mo Shanghua again. He blurted out a sentence, "Yes, yes, no, no, Mo." So vague language, can only vaguely guess a can't make, but the words behind is half also can't guess, but its meaning is almost the same. You've used it, and it's not too late to return. Mo Shanghua closed the palm of Qin Lin's hand and pushed back. "I can't go out now. They don't dare to say more with this, so you always have to accept it." At this point, she suddenly thought of something, and her eyes were cold. "As for those who chew their tongue, I can't help it, but I can't help it. I just grab a few first-class servant girls to fight and blame them. If I do this, I can lock many people's mouths." Qinya heard what Mo Shanghua said. She was frightened at the beginning of her life. She immediately clenched her fist and was eager to give it a try. "Princess, you can rest assured that your maidservant will never give them good fruit this time. She will surely earn our face back. They will dare to bully us in the future." Qin Lin stood with her lips for a long time, then pulled Qinya to kneel down and gave a big salute to the flowers on the street. Qinya understood Qin Lin's intention at the moment of kneeling down. She also accepted the smile, straightened out her posture and saluted. Emo Shanghua looked at their solemn appearance, but her heart was a little complicated. I just lost a little favor. Why are you two so easily moved? My heart is so soft that I am afraid I will be easily hindered by it in the future. Just thinking about it, he saw Qin Lin raise his head and use sign language slowly. The princess will not be angry easily. If she can be angry today, it will be enough to see her treating us. Emo Shanghua understood Qin Lin's meaning, but she was stunned in her heart. I didn't know before that you were a man, but you were so careful. I'm afraid Qinya didn't even think of this detail, but Qin Lin was very careful when he read it here. Qin Lin smelled the speech, but he was a little embarrassed to smile, and his weak cheek showed a bit of shyness. Brother, why are you blushing? Qinya glanced at Qin Lin's manner, and could not help shouting, laughing at him. Qin Linton raised his hand and poked Qinya's forehead. Then he gave another salute to Emo Shanghua, and quickly took his private seal and left. Seeing this, Qinya spat out her tongue at the flower on the street and chased her out. Emo Shanghua saw two people leave, can't help rubbing the forehead, face with helpless color. The temperament of these two brothers and sisters is quite different. At that time, in the Imperial City Prime Minister's mansion, Lu Qianqian received the urgent secret letter from Yuzhou 800. After burning it under the candle fire, he called Qing'er in. Qing'er, get ready. I'm going to change my clothes to see my father. By the way, I'll cook the blood swallow which was given by Empress Shu a few days ago. Later, I'll take it to my father together. Yes. Qing'er bows and prepares. When everything is ready, Lu Qianqian goes to Lu Xiang's study with a newly cooked swallow. At this time, Lu Xiangjing was sitting in front of the case, looking at some spies, frowning, as if he was worried about something. When the guard in front of the study saw that it was Lu Qianqian who was coming, he didn't stop them. Lu Qianqian asked them not to report, so no one dared to move. It's not because of Lu Qianqian's bad temper. On the contrary, Lu Qianqian's temper is so good that he was replaced by someone else. He has been living in exile for more than 10 years. The master feels guilty and loves her very much. There is no one in the house to compare with him. Such a master, of course, they should always be careful and put on the top of their hearts. Is Dad worried about the affairs in the court again? In the study, when it was quiet, Lu Qian's soft voice suddenly rang out. If someone else dares to disturb him at this time, Lu Xiang must be angry on the spot. But at this time, he has no anger on his face. Instead, he stretches his eyebrows and says, Qianqian, it's so late. How did you come here? Lu Qianqian's gentle and dignified face habitually brought a smile, which made people feel close. I heard that the boarder is always restless these days. When Qianqian guessed, he knew that his father must be worried about it, so he personally cooked the bird's nest to give his father relief. With that, he turned around and took down the gold cup with the blood swallow from the tray that Qing'er had been carrying for a long time. He gently placed it in front of Lu Xiang. It was elegant. Seeing this, Qing'er said sweetly, Master, this swallow is on the palace banquet a few days ago. The lady gave it to you, but the girl hasn't been willing to eat it. Lu Xiang's heart was filled with the comfort of his daughter's understanding, but now listening to Qing'er's words, his heart adds a bit of guilt. It was all his fault that made the child so rare, even a blood swallow. However, her filial piety was really rare. Think of here, he sees Lu Qianqian's vision more and more cherish. Qianqian, you are so filial and sensible. How can you make up for what you owe your father? Lu Qianqian hurriedly shook, his face disapproved of the color. Father, don't want to say so. That year's thing is just an accident. Qianqian now so happy. Father, or quickly eat this bird's nest, a while can be cold. Then, for fear that Lu Xiang couldn't put down the things in his hand, he quickly took the spy to prevent him from looking at it. This kind of bold behavior, if you change to be a stranger in the past, you will be scolded for not knowing the rules. But now Lu Qianqian does it, but she only feels cute. Well, Father, I'll listen to you. The more Lu Xiang looks at Lu Qianqian, the more cute he feels. He has a smile on his face. He simply listens to her and starts eating the bird's nest. Taking advantage of Lu Xiang's porridge time, Lu Qianqian looks around like he's bored. Then he lowers his head and curiously opens up the spy. Coincidentally, this spy report is about the border people. It's not surprising that the news has been spread all over the world. As for the private ones, Yen Moli was defeated and seriously injured at that time, and he was recuperating in the nearby city of Yanbei. What's more, the mobs had harassed Yuzhou once last time, but they had been repelled by the guards. Lu Xiang is eating bird's nest with his head down. He has never noticed Lu Qian's action. When he finds out, Lu Qianqian has already looked at the spy. He mumbles to himself as if he is in a trance. It's such a thing, but it's not as tricky as he imagined. Lu Qianqian's murmur came to his ears. Lu Xiang noticed what Lu Qianqian was doing. His face suddenly changed. Qian, what are you doing? Lu Qianqian didn't peep at Yao Jing's fear when he was found. He just looked up at Lu Xiang, who was still immersed in the espionage. My daughter is just thinking about how to expel these people. Lu Xiang originally had some taboos, but seeing Lu Qian's serious appearance, he couldn't bear to suppress his original temperament and said, "How does Qian think?" Lu Qianqian frowned and looked at the fold for a while. It seemed that he was lost in thought. After a long time, he raised his head and said, Qian's knowledge is shallow, but he doesn't understand it very well. He just thinks that these rioters are too strange. It's not easy to think of this when I first came into contact with this matter. Lu Xiang nodded slightly, with a look of approval on his face. There's nothing strange about it. It's just that the next small county in Yuzhou has suffered a grain disaster, and many refugees have escaped. Unexpectedly, after these refugees fled to a county near Yuzhou, they still have no money to buy food. They started by robbing their homes. Then they seem to be worried about the officers' and soldiers' suppression of bandits, and they incite people to sit up. I'm sorry for all this treachery. When Lu Qianqian heard the speech, his eyes dropped down again, and he fell into a state of meditation again. After a while, she raised her head and said, Qian dares to guess that the imperial court is now losing its troops after the Second Royal Highness of Yi has been calculated. What should be done in the future? Exactly, what does Qian have in mind? Lu Xiang originally just wanted to see what Lu Qian's opinion was. Now that he had no outsider here, he simply let her talk about her own opinion, so as not to be suffocated when she thought of things. This time, Lu Qian only had a little pause, and then he opened his lips and talked about it. Father, according to Qian, since your highness is in Yuzhou City, why don't you borrow troops from Yuzhou directly? He didn't know. He just thought it was the most convenient place. Yuzhou was a big state, so there should be at least 10,000 troops stationed here. Not right. Lu Xiangmei locked his head tightly and didn't agree with him. King Yu, the ruler of Yuzhou, is an ignorant person. He doesn't even know the garrison situation of Yuzhou, and he doesn't know how to practice. If he borrows it to his highness at will, he will put his highness in a dangerous place. Lu Qianqian heard the speech, but he laughed. How can my father forget that those people who are in trouble are untrained grassroots people? Even if the Yuzhou garrison is useless, it is impossible to beat them all. But they are extraordinary. If they were not, his second highness would not have started. At this point, Lu Xiang couldn't help sighing. He seemed very sad. Lu Qianqian thought about it carefully and thought about it for a moment before he said, although Qianqian doesn't understand these things, he probably knows that marching and fighting should pay attention to the right time and place. Since the mob can reach Yuzhou, it means that the two places are very close. Therefore, Qianqian thinks that there is really no place more suitable than that. When Lu Xiang heard the speech, he couldn't help but fall into a deep meditation and didn't speak for a long time. Seeing this, Lu Qianqian turned around and walked thoughtfully, and went on. Elder sister, she has been in the Prime Minister's residence for more than 10 years. If she can write another letter, let her elder sister persuade His Royal Highness you to send the best soldiers to help His Second Highness in the future. It's not your sister. I'll talk about it later. Lu Xiang's face was ugly for a moment, and the whole face was gloomy. Lu Qianqian's lips were slightly crooked and disappeared as if it had never happened. Then she can't help but flat mouth, a girl's home Jiaohan aggrieved appearance, yes, daughter no, in the future will not mention. Lu Xiang's face softened a little bit, but it was not so good. Well, it's getting late. You should go back to have a rest. My father will consider your idea. Yes, that father definitely wants to have a good rest. Qian leaves. After Lu Qian's graceful salute, she turned around and went out. Not long after Fang came out of the study, Lu Qian couldn't help but show his restrained smile. His eyebrows and eyes could not help letting out a bit of satisfaction, and he was in a very good mood. The fine son doesn't understand of looking at own master son, can't help asking away, girl, the master isn't yet agree, why do you so happy now? You know what? Lu Qianxian glanced at Qing'er and said, many of these words are pointed out in His Highness's secret letter. My father is so guilty of me that he always thinks more about my words. When he just came out, didn't you see his father's look? In his heart, he clearly agrees, and he will agree in the end. When the dust settles, His Highness will surely love her more. Maybe he can settle the marriage as soon as possible. Thinking about this, the radiance of her lips became bigger and bigger, and the corners of her eyes and eyebrows were full of pride. Yuzhou Huiqianliu played with the wine in his hand and looked at Yanbei City sitting opposite him with a smile. I've said all that Xiaomao Hua should say, and then it depends on your own fortune. Yan Beiqing's soared eyebrows suddenly wrinkled, and his face was hard to understand. What kind of fortune? Hua Qianlu couldn't help laughing, as if she had heard something very interesting. I said, you don't expect a girl's family to bow to you. It's really not authentic. When Yan Beiqing heard the speech, his thin lips were slightly pursed, but his cold face was half empty. He directly turned away from the topic and said, what's the matter with the mob? Is there any news in the imperial city? Hua Qianlu put the folding fan on his forehead. A pair of fox's eyes picked up slightly and scratched a little, which meant that he didn't know what to say. Forgive me, Brother Beiqing, you've been so alone for so many years. It's really not without a reason. Say, very sigh of again way, be really Migu. Yan Beiqing raised his eyes slightly. He always looked at the willows with cold and sharp eyes. The look in his eyes was so clear that he couldn't see what he wanted. Fortunately, Hua Qianlu had a certain understanding of him and knew that he was listening to him. So far, he didn't mention, my earliest tip here is that people in the former dynasty were arguing about the issue of the mob. Some people asked for orders to send others, and some of them supported Yen Moli. They are about to fight. It's very busy. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.